YouTube, and a big hello to our Gold Card Experience members on Zoom. I see you, Honor, room 2. I see you, Lisa, room 3. We are so thrilled that you said yes to rising up together in this new year. My name is Renee Marino, and I am so very honored to be your host for these 3 days, your guide, your teammate right alongside you on this journey. And can you believe this, you guys? We have over 1.2 million people registered here for this summit from all over the world. Give it up for yourselves. Wow. Hello, Sabrina. I am so honored to share this experience with you, brought to you by the one and only Tony Robbins. Yes. Now, whether this is your first Tony live event, or you've been to several Tony events, or you're still figuring out how the heck you got here. You're thinking, I don't know, someone sent me a link, I clicked on it, and poof, here I am. We want you to know that no matter what category you're in, you are in the exact right place. And we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for investing your most precious asset with us, your time. We do not take that lightly. As I said, my name is Renee Marino, and I could not be more excited, if you can't already tell, to be your host for these 3 days. You know, I've been a student of Tony's for years, and in 2020, I came up to one of the hardest points in my life. After facing a lot of loss of the people closest to me and deciding to shift careers but not knowing where to begin, I felt lost. And maybe some of you right now, you feel that way too. Well, it was at that exact moment that I decided to say yes to Tony's very first virtual summit, just like this one. And for 3 days, I was glued to the screen. I brought something for you. I took written notes right in this notebook. Yep. I held on to every one of Tony's last words, and through that event, he helped me to gain the tools that I needed to start my new chapter and to become a business owner. So as someone who is sitting right where you are and experienced transformation as a result, I am here to tell you that these 3 days are going to blow your mind. They're going to change the way you see yourself, the way you see opportunity, and they're going to help you close that gap from where you are now to where you want to be. It is time to rise, my friends, and we are doing it together. Now, let's chat about the important stuff, how this summit works. Well, we're going to be together for 3 days, 3 hours a day. And if Tony does one thing consistently, it is over-deliver. So let's make a commitment to ourselves. Not Tony, it's about us and our transformation. So let's make that commitment to ourselves. Trust me, these 3 days have the capacity to change the next 3 decades of your life or more. And to miss a little is to miss a lot. See, Tony has designed every single piece of these 3 days, every moment precisely with your transformation in mind, so you do not want to miss a moment. You also want to stay the entire time because you have the chance to win prizes. And who doesn't like prizes, right? Right, Hara, in room 2? Starting tonight, we are giving away tickets to Tony's legendary, iconic 4-day Unleash the Power Within event. But here's the caveat. You have to be here the entire time with us live to win. And that's just our way of rewarding you for playing full out. We want to take a moment to acknowledge our wonderful, awesome Gold Card Experience community. Hello, Veronica. I see you, Warren. There you are, Trina. Thank you all so much for your contribution to changing lives around the world. Your investment helps us to donate more meals to Feeding America, and it is such a true gift. So we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All right, a few more principles to make the most out of these 3 days, and then I am bringing the man himself out to the stage. Trust me. He's standing right to my right, and he is chomping at the bit. He cannot wait to see you guys. Number 1, and jot this down. I really encourage you to put pen to paper just like I did. Number 1, dedicate the time and be 100% present. That means when that friend calls you up and says, hey, want to go to lunch? Your answer needs to be, nope, I'm transforming my life. But why don't you come and join me? We'll get that sandwich later. Second, play full out. Change can happen in an instant if you fully engage. What you put into these 3 days is what you're going to get out. So interact in the chat. Gold Card Experience members, make sure your cameras are on. Take those written notes. Research shows when we write, we activate more parts of the brain, giving us a deeper understanding of that information. And number 3, energy, baby. Energy is the basis of all transformation. Why? When we have low energy, we don't take action, we don't follow through. But when we have high energy, we take action on the things that matter most, and everything becomes possible. And the way we do that is through a change in the way we move our bodies. So, before I bring Tony out, very briefly, I'm going to bring someone very special up to the stage just for a few minutes who's going to help you and I to increase our energy so we can start this summit off right, okay? He is a dear, dear friend of Tony's and has been working with him for 25 years. Think about this. He's the person that Tony trusts to keep his body ready, active, and in alignment. And you guys, Brian and Tony were actually doing the exercises just here before, and now Brian is going to do them with you. So here's a brief video to introduce you to the one and only Brian Bradley.
For alignment, the position that your body's in is what's going to help you keep you in a physical peak state.
When your body feels structurally strong, when everything is centered, your emotions are different as well.
Don't just stretch a tight muscle without asking why it's tight in the first place. Does that make sense?
You have to be able to train your body and your mind. When they work together, there's no limit to what you can experience.
Your physical is what supports the mental emotional. We're going to get your body to be as balanced as possible in a very short amount of time. Anybody interested?
Okay, everybody, give it up for the one and only Brian Bradley. Yes.
All right, guys, listen, I have a very short time. I'm a little bit short on time this morning because we want to blow this thing up this afternoon. And in 3 minutes, we're going to get your body to literally meet you at the peak state that you're going to be playing with all day. So get up out of your chair. Let's get moving. If it's your first time, you know what we're going to do. Sorry, if it's not your first time, you know what we're going to do. But if it's your first time, we're going to take you through a couple movements that change everything in your upper back to get your whole spine and nervous system to be ready for the rest of this entire event. But the next 3 days are going to change your entire life. So here we go. I want you to stand up, shake it out a little bit. And now close your eyes and just feel where your balance is right now. Remember, where your balance is a lot of times tied to your mental, emotional state. I think mine's right at the peak right now. So that's where I expect you guys to be in a couple minutes. So open up your eyes. We're going to check this. Look down at your feet. I just happened to wear some socks today that kind of explain what people's legs look like in the gym. Yeah, a little chicken leg socks. Do the work. Let's go, but do it smart. And now with your feet, put them dead straight ahead, fist width apart, 5 degrees turned in, and they stay there for the next 2 exercises. So here we go. We're going to take your hand, put them in this light fist position with your fingernails and palms together. And now put it against your temples like this and close your elbows together. Come with me. Here we go. Feet straight. Open up. Let's go to the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. Let's get through this. Oh, I see some people whose elbows aren't touching. Get those elbows together. This is like Chris Farley in a jacket. Let's go. Get those elbows to touch. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've done one exercise. Interlace your finger together like this. Let's go. Push it forward and straight up over your head. Look up at your hands. Keep your feet straight. Hold that position. You want your elbows straight. Look up at your hands. Drop the shoulders from your ears. And then I have a surprise for you. We're going to move in the next 10 seconds at a pace like you haven't done before. So here we go. Walk it out. Shake it out. Close your eyes. Feel where that balance has changed to now. Much more grounded. Now get yourself in a sprint position. We're gonna do 10 seconds per side. Pump your elbows back and forth. I call this the greatest abdominal exercise ever. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Go as fast as you can. Turn it on. Turn it on. Let's see it. Energy to another level. I heard peak state from Renee, but I don't see it yet. Okay, switch sides. Other leg back and keep it going. Go. 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 Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2. I see Renee doing it. Renee!
Yes! Give it up for Mr. Brian Bradley. I love that exercise. I do it every day. All right, it is time to get this day started. This is the moment you've been waiting for, so check out this quick video. Ladies and gentlemen, let's raise up that energy, get into what Tony calls a peak state, and let's give it up for the one, the only, Tony Robbins.
Thank you. How y'all doing? Wow, nice to see you all. On 3, shake your body with some energy. Go. 1, 2, 3, wake it up. Come on now. Oh, yes. Well, please grab a seat. Great to see you all. Thank you for joining me here. Welcome to the Time to Rise Summit 2026, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited to be here. We have over 1.2 million households, but there's over 2 million people joining us from 195 countries. Now a little over 100,000 of you here on Zoom. Give it up for everybody that's joined us here, ladies and gentlemen. So I see all the comments going screaming by on YouTube and here on Zoom, and I'm getting to see all of your faces, and I just want you to know I feel so grateful to have the opportunity to share with you these few days. And I want you to know, even though there's no charge for this per se, this is an opportunity for you to really expand and grow. And I feel the same sense of responsibility as if I was doing this in a normal event. This is a chance to really transform in the next few days. And if you give your all for about 2.5, 3 hours a day, about 3 hours, think of it like a movie you're going to, but instead of quite enjoyable, but a movie where your life changes, but it'll require you not to be passive. If you sit back passive and just listen, there are parts of that's appropriate for, but we're gonna do some things today that I think you'll start to feel, I know you'll start to feel the change because we've done this a few times. I know what I'm doing at this point in my life. I've had the privilege now of serving so many hundreds of millions of people around the world, and we have 195 countries here. Literally every country in the world there are people participating from. So I'm super grateful. And to give you an idea, if you wonder how the world's doing, I know there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, but think about this. This is like, to give you an idea, 63, well, actually a little more than that if you talk about the people that are at home, but just registrants alone is 63 NBA stadiums full of people that we're all working with right now together because of this technology. Or if you've been to an NFL football game, if you know that, be 20 stadiums just today that we filled. And it's all people who are hungry to do more. How many are hungry for more in your life, no matter how great your life is, right? So I know there's a lot of craziness and uncertainty in the world, and there always is. It's something going on in the world. But I think that what I really want us to focus on here is to understand, like to start this off, our goal here is to come together as kind of a family from all over the world and to focus on the fact that there's two worlds, right? There's the external world and there's the internal world. And most people are so focused on the external world. And you can't control the external world. You can influence it, don't get me wrong, we can all influence it, but we can't control it. But we can control our internal world, meaning what we experience out of this life. Two people can have the same event happen. One is destroyed and one becomes driven. In fact, last night I am feeling deeply moved this morning because I was up to almost 4 a.m. because I was reading so many of your comments about why you're joining, and some of them made me laugh, some of them made me smile. Quite a few brought me in tears. If you got a message from me at 3 or 4 in the morning, yes, it is me. Open it up. You'll know it's me. You'll hear my voice. I left messages for some people who've been through absolute hell, but I have too. You know, I've had to bury 3 fathers and a mother at one stage prematurely. I've been told that, you know, you got a tumor in your brain and you can die. I've had the experience of being near bankruptcy several times early in my career and my businesses, but I've made it through all those things. And when you make it through them, you get lessons that you don't forget. You know, when you succeed, you tend to party. When you fail, you tend to ponder, you know, and out of the pondering, if you don't give up, if you keep pushing forward, it's amazing what's going to happen. And for those of you that are going through it, I want everyone to understand that everyone on earth goes through extreme stress. Extreme stress. I don't mean the stress people talk about day to day. That stress really comes about because most people are busy managing their lives. You know, are you going to tell me it's more stressful today than it was in the dark ages or when a saber-toothed tiger would be chasing you? Come on. But the reason we're so stressed is because most people are managing their life. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to survive. It's a survival instinct. And when you're doing that, you're stressed. What will get you out of survival is what we're going to do the next few days, and that is when you get into creation. Think about this. All of us around the world are joining in this virtual room we're in together. And by the way, I really want to thank you for letting me join you in your home or your offices. I see where you're living and where you are. I want to invite you to my basement. We have a giant studio that I normally do my seminars in, you know, 50 foot high ceilings, 20 foot high LED screens, the whole thing. But we started here during COVID when people were at home, and I thought, I just want to I want to help people that are stuck at home and they're frozen there and they're depressed or sad or overwhelmed. And I want to eliminate what keeps them from doing it. Money and time, right? So no money, no cost, and no time. You don't have to travel. Just step up together, we'll make it happen. But as I started saying, most people are stressed because they're managing, and we've all been created by something. I'm not telling you what to believe religiously, but you know, obviously something created us, and we were made to create. And when you start creating your own life, you design your own life. When you start creating love in your life, when you start creating an opportunity, a business, when you create anything, stress disappears because that's what we're made for. And so the next few days, we're going to do some creation if you're up for it. But I do know many of you it's like seasons of life. There are many seasons. You know, some of you are in the winter of your life right now. You're facing some really, really tough. Who's in winter? Who's facing some tough situations right now in your life? Make some noise if you have that. Or give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube or something. Thank you. And some of you are in the springtime. It's like a brand new start. You know, like you've ended something, you're beginning something new. Maybe your kids have left the nest and you're figuring something new out. Or maybe you're starting a new business or a new job or a new relationship, or you just have decided, I'm tired of being old. This is a new year, and I'm going to have a new life. Who's in springtime right now? I'm just curious. Who gets to recommend that component, right? Some of you are in the hot summer. You know, it's summer, springtime, everything's easy. It flows. If you start a business in springtime, you think you're a genius because it grows like crazy, because everybody's optimistic. The economy's going great, but every season has its testing time. Spring is easy, then you have a testing summer. Fall's easy, then you got a testing winter. That's the way the universe set it up, or God, whatever you prefer. The point is, if you're in summer, you might have been doing something for a long time, working your tail off, and it hasn't come together, and you're like, where is the reward? Who's in the hot summertime right now dealing with that someplace in your life? And some of you are actually doing awesome. You've worked your tail off, and you're in the rewards part. You're in the fall. How many of you in the rewards part, you just came by to party with me a little bit here? Anybody there? That's awesome. So whatever season you're in, here's the truth. You're going to go through many of them the next few days as we go dig deep about what's really shaping our lives and how we can make the changes that we really want to make. But when I talk about extreme stress, what I mean by that is, unfortunately, everyone on earth, no matter how good a person you are, no matter how much you love God or the universe, no matter how well-mannered you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter how successful you have, everyone experiences extreme stress. Your home burns down. It's something you can't control. You know, it happened to me years ago, and so many of my friends in LA just about a year ago, and it's pretty intense. Or, you get robbed. Or somebody in your family gets diagnosed with a disease, or you get diagnosed with a disease. Somebody tells you it's terminal, or it's really serious, or your company of COVID comes by and shuts down your company, or you lose your job, or AI displaces you. I mean, there's so many things that create extreme stress for people, but here's what I'm here to tell you. The tools we're gonna give you the next 3 days will have you be able to navigate through that. Because stress either destroys you or you learn to use it to drive you. And those of you that found a way through, there are people there that have, right now have a terminal disease and they're turning things around. There was a man I read last night who was put in a wheelchair by an accident. He said he'd never walk again, and now he's walking, speaking, doing different things, but then he just lost his job. Right? I mean, there's so many stories, but the people I'm most impressed by are the ones like you that say, you know, somewhere I made a decision, this is not gonna stop me. That's the core decision, and then I'm gonna find a way. And you know, you've heard people say, if you're going through hell, what do they tell you to do? Keep going, right? Because there is another side if you don't give up. And so, by the way, if you keep going, I can tell you my own life experience, 3 things will happen in your life if you keep pushing through those stressful times that seem like they're forever, like the dark night of the soul. Nothing's forever. Only your soul is forever, right? Even this body is gonna go away. So what is it? Well, the first thing will happen if you push through those stressful times is you're gonna discover how strong you really are, and you'll never forget it. It's happened in my life and anybody I know that's pushed through it. That's the gift of stressful times. Second thing that'll happen for you if you really push through is you'll find out who your real friends are. Not your Facebook friends, your real friends. Because when things go tough, you get to see who really cares about you. When things are easy, everybody wants to be your friend, right? And the third thing that'll happen for you is you'll develop kind of an immunity to future stressful things. I have a friend that was, he's passed away now, but I knew him for many years, who was shot down in Vietnam. He was a young Navy pilot, big ego. That's how he was then. And he gets shot down in Vietnam, and he gets thrown in a North Korean or North Vietnamese prison, which the Koreans treated him how to do. North Korean communists trained them how to deal with people. And they lit him in isolation. They chained him to a concrete floor, and it was on an angle, so when he went to the bathroom and peed, it would burn down his back. They beat him. He was there for 7 years. Well, he found out how strong he was. He made friends through knocking on the wall. And by the way, when he came home, I remember one time the IRS was coming after him. It took him like 3 years to get his money back. They were wrong, and they screwed him over. And I was asking him, you don't seem very stressed. He goes, Tony, after being with the North Vietnamese, what the heck would make me stressed? The IRS, are you kidding me? So I'm not encouraging you to have a stressful time in your life, but I am encouraging you to learn how to use stress and let stress use you. Who's up for that these next couple of days? Really take it to another level here, right? So to do that, one of the things we really have to do is to understand that there are patterns that start to shape our lives. In other words, everything is a pattern. And when you learn patterns, you can change them quickly. This has been the secret to turning my life around and creating success, not only for myself, but for all the people I've been able to serve. What I mean by patterns are, think of it this way. Think of if you're gonna master the internal world, you have to be able to know whatever's going on outside, how I can find my center, how I can push through it, how I can make it happen. Here's where the game is first. Then we work on the outside world. Then it's easy to work on the outside world if we're strong within ourselves. But the patterns are, there are patterns of using your mind, of your thoughts, of your emotions, of your body that will make you angry all the time, or frustrated, or overwhelmed, or sad, or depressed. And there are patterns that'll make you excited, passionate, grateful, be driven. And once you know what those patterns are and how to trigger them, you literally can change anything in your life. Now, most people, they don't know their patterns, so they let the environment just trigger them all the time. You hear people say, I was triggered. Well, yes, if you're triggered, it's time to change your conditioning, not complain about other people triggering you. We can't control what other people say and do. We can only control ourselves. So for me, the metaphor is learning how to get out of the habits that don't make you feel the way you want to experience the life the way you really want to experience it. Because most people are kind of stuck. They're stuck in certain emotional patterns. Who's ever been stuck in frustration or overwhelm or overload or sadness or depression, right? We've got to learn how to shift that very quickly. You know, it depends on which study you read, but they say about 55% roughly of the things you do every day are pure habit. Now, the good news about that is you don't have to think about it. Habits make it easy. You know, first time you drive a stick shift car and you're a brand new young kid, you're like, I go to this and this and this and put it in gear and watch the rear mirror and the road too, it'll never happen. But now you do all those things and you're thinking about something else and, you know, chewing gum and hopefully not texting. But you can do all these things at once because it's just one chunk of information because it's all habit. You don't have to think about it. The bad news about habit is most people have the same mental habits. In fact, I read a study once, I don't know how they came up with the statistic, but they said the average person has 165,000 thoughts a day. The only problem is 96% of those thoughts are the same ones they had the day before. So we run the same patterns, the same habits, we feel the same experiences, and we don't break through. So if you're gonna break through, what does it take? And this is what we're gonna do these next 3 days. We're gonna uncover the patterns that control your life. Because I want you to think about something. How many of you are concerned a little bit about AI and excited? How many have both concern and excitement? Make some noise if you have both those. In the next listen to me now, the next 3 to 10 years, there'll be more change for human experience than has happened in all of humanity, and that is not an ounce of exaggeration. Now, some people say we're gonna have, artificial general intelligence in 3 years like Elon Musk. Some people say 10 years. The longest I've seen is 15 years. And for the people that understand what's going on. So it's not only AI, by the way. AI is changing everything. But also we have nanotechnology coming. They have nanotechnology right now that they can put 10% of your blood cells with these nanobots, and you could be able to go underwater and hold your breath for 20 minutes. You'd be able to run a 4-minute mile. You'd be able, if you had a heart attack, to have it 24 hours to get to a hospital. It's so incredibly expensive and it's experimental right now, but that'll get solved. And nanotechnology is going to change everything. And then, of course, robots. Think about this. Elon talks about the fact that he's not the only one now. He's a little early usually in his predictions. He's saying 3 years, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10. But in this decade, the changes will happen where, you know how you take electricity for granted? It's relatively cheap. You don't worry about it. It's always available for the most part. Well, that's what labor will be like because of robots. So we're going through a massive change. And so how are you going to succeed during that time? Now, I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids. How many of you have kids, by the way? I'm curious. How many got kids or grandkids out there? Awesome. So I got 5 kids and 5 grandkids. I have a 52-year-old daughter, and right around the corner, one of the biggest loves of my life, I have a 4.5-year-old daughter because COVID was good to me. Right? So nice to see you, sweetheart. Anyway, the experience, that takes me into a different state. That's beautiful. I lost my train of thought. That's awesome. That's what my daughter does to me, right? It's amazing. But what I know what I'm saying is that I think about my grandkids especially, because my kids are older, and I think about my youngest daughter, and I think, what do they need in a world that, listen, people have been saying for years about 40% of the jobs we now know of are going to go away, but they're going to go away faster than ever before. Think about this. 150 years ago, 80% of Americans were farmers. Just 150 years ago. And no one was, and by the way, now we're 3% farmers, and with technology, we feed the whole world. So no one was thinking about being a webmaster or an AI master back in those days, right? There just wasn't a part of this process. So that change happened over 150 years. The change we're talking about happening is going to happen over 3 to 10 years. In fact, it's already begun. I don't know if you've seen the latest statistics. It shows that high school students have a higher employment level than college students right now coming out of school, after they spent all that money and time, because many of those entry jobs AI now does very easily. So we're talking about gigantic changes. Now, that could scare the hell out of you, or you could just be fearful, or you got to say, what do I do to be able to take advantage of this and be on the positive side? Well, of course, you're not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by someone who uses AI. And we have trainings for people, and so do many other people. So there's lots of tools to do that. But here are the 3 patterns that I think if you want to succeed in life, you have to understand. 3 core skills if you want to jot them down. Let's start with these. The first skill that you want to teach your kids and yourself, so if you have this skill, these 3 skills, you will not have to worry about the world changing. You'll be on top of it. Skill number 1 is called pattern recognition. Pattern recognition. Now, what does that mean? It means the world is a fearful place when you think things are happening to you versus you're able to anticipate what's going on. When you're having to react to things, it creates enormous stress. And very often in life, we just don't realize that because something's happening today and you don't remember seeing it, doesn't mean it hasn't happened before. You've heard the idea that history, isn't the same, but basically it rhymes. There are certain patterns in history that continue. And so once you know those patterns, you don't freak out. Now, I've been a student of history, and I've studied 1,000 years of Roman history, 500 years of Anglo-American history. In fact, I was coaching President Clinton when he was the president of the United States, and this is how different the world is now. And he had this book on his desk called Generations, a book I'd highly recommend, or maybe a smaller one called The Fourth Turning that the same authors did, Strauss and Howe, if you want to write it down. Generations, Strauss and Howe, The Fourth Turning. And I left him. In those days, I could do this. I coached the President of the United States at that point. Then I went across the aisle to the other side, and I saw Gingrich, who was the Speaker of the House, who was a Republican, you got a Democrat, and I coached him because I'm an independent. I want this country to be better. I'm willing to help anybody that cares about the country, right? Back then you could do it. Today someone would want to shoot you in the head and say you're evil if you help the other side. It's so ridiculous. But he also had this book, Generations, on his desk. And again, Fourth Turning was the following book. So I read the book, and I couldn't believe it. I asked them both about it. It explains how history goes in cycles, like 4 seasons. And when you know what those seasons are, you don't freak out. See, think of it this way. What made humanity go from living in fear, where to survive every day we were hunters and gatherers running from place to place hoping we could get enough food, to having the life you have where you can stay in one place, there's plenty of food, you can build your family, you can build a community, you can build a city or a nation. One skill changed that, pattern recognition. And what did we recognize as a pattern that took us from survival to this life we have now? The answer is the recognition of the pattern of the seasons I mentioned earlier. See, without the seasons, you just planted randomly. Now, let me ask a question. If you do the right thing at the wrong time, put in the chat, what do you get if you do the right thing at the wrong time? Just put it in the chat. I do the right thing at the wrong time. Like, for example, buying a home. Is that the right thing to do? Most people say yes, but the question is when? If you did it in 2008, wrong time, right? 2007 especially, right? It was a difficult situation. So what we used to do is try to plant anything, and it didn't work. 3 seasons out of 4 didn't work. When they figured out, hey, there's only one season you can plant, it's springtime, and then you got to protect it in the summer, then you get to reap in the fall, you better hang on to some of that for the winter. We went from survival to transformation. When you start recognizing patterns in your kids, how many of you have more than one child? Make some noise, you got more than one child. If your first child gets an earache, you run to the doctor, you're freaked out. By the time you get to your third child, you love them just as much, but an earache, ear infection happens at this stage. It's a problem, but you don't freak out about it. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say aye. So the bottom line is, pattern recognition will free you from fear. And if you get free from fear, you'll have a different life. By the way, people right now, let's say in the United States, I know we have people literally from 195 countries, but this is true in many countries. There's a lot of right and left in all these different countries fighting with each other. There always is. But here in America, you hear people in the news say things like, oh my God, we're going to have civil war. This is the worst it's ever been. And it's so absurd. Because even though it's frustrating and it's difficult and there are issues got to be dealt with, and some are very painful and some are very unfair and can be seen from different angles and different sides, it's always been this way. And some seasons are rougher than others. I'll show you something just fun for pattern recognition. You think what these Republicans or what these Democrats are saying is so evil. Here's what the founding fathers, 2 of them, said about each other when they're running. Back then, they didn't have ads, so they had placards. This is a placard that John Adams put out when he was running against Thomas Jefferson for President of the United States. I'll read it to you in case you aren't seeing it. Murder, robbery, rape, incest, and adultery will be practiced throughout the land. Are you prepared to see your dwellings in flames, your female chastity violated, or your children writhing from the pike if you elect Thomas Jefferson? And then, to not be outdone, Jefferson made one for John Adams. And then he said, John Adams is busy importing mistresses from Europe or trying to marry one of his sons off to the daughter of King George, which was seen as the most evil person at the time. He said he's a hideous, hermaphroditical character with neither the force or firmness of a man nor the gentleness or sensibilities of a woman. These are the founding fathers of this country, and this is what they said about each other. So when you recognize patterns, you don't start overreacting. You go, okay, this is a problem, it's got to be solved, but I don't need to freak out, right? But the second skill is where you really get power, and this is what you want to teach your kids to do too, pattern utilization. See, once you recognize a pattern, that's one thing. But if you use the pattern, now you're going to succeed. So for example, Howard Schultz was in Europe, and he noticed something in Italy specifically, that people didn't want to go straight home or in the morning go straight to work. They wanted a place between as a buffer. And instead of going to a pub or a beer or to a bar, which you're not going to do in the morning, they had these little coffee shops, but the coffee wasn't 50 cents black and cream. It was like 25, 30, 40, 50 different coffees, and they were really small, and they were super expensive. And he saw that pattern, and he came to America and used it and started something called Starbucks. He didn't come up with the idea for Starbucks. He just copied what was already there. He recognized the successful pattern, and he used it. How many get it here? Say aye. The same thing is true of anyone you know is really successful. If you know someone who is really great singer or a dancer, I mean, Michael Jackson not only recognized patterns, but he knew how to use patterns to change how you felt. If you look at somebody like Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's made movies for what, almost 50 years? How's he done that? He knows that if I take the camera and I zoom in slowly like this versus pull back rapid like this, if I change the music, whatever I do, I can change your emotion like that. He knows what patterns to use to produce the exact result he wants. You know, Warren Buffett knows how to recognize the patterns in a company and know which to invest in. You know, I've had the privilege of learning how to run companies. I couldn't even run one company that was doing less than $500,000 a year, and I was stressed out. Now I have 121 companies. This year, our top revenue from all of them in total is, 121 companies. The total number now is $12 billion this year combined. I mean, I could never even dream of that before, but business is a pattern. Once you know it and you use it, things change. Third skill. This is when things get really fun. By the way, we're going to do these first two skills over the next 3 days. You're going to recognize patterns that don't work for you, and you're going to change them, use them in a different way. You're going to find patterns that don't work and use them. But the third pattern, the third level is pattern creation. That's when now you've absorbed enough other people's patterns that you can start making things happen. Remember I said stress comes from managing, but man, when you start to create, your stress goes away. I've been able to build things, create things, do things, because think of it this way. If you learn to play the piano, how do you do it? Well, you learn someone else's patterns. Maybe Beethoven, maybe a pop or rock song. They built the pattern, they created it, but you just recognize it and learn to use it. And you can play the same music and produce the same beauty. But if you play enough other people's music long enough, there comes a day where your brain clicks and you start becoming a creator. You stand on the shoulders of the people you've learned from, and now you create things that are uniquely you. How many have done this somewhere in your life where you started creating patterns you haven't done before and you felt what that experience is like, right? It is incredible. So these three patterns, these three skills are what get us where we want to go. Now, there's also patterns in our lives, all right? Like I said, there's patterns of emotion, but there's also stages of life. So use the same 4 seasons for a second, just for a moment. And think about this. Springtime is easy. Springtime things grow easily. My daughter's in springtime, right? 4.5 years old. She's learning Chinese, Spanish, English all simultaneously. She knows more than I do, right? She's doing construction projects, architecture. She's dancing. She's doing gymnastics, and she's out there playing and enjoying her life. She's absorbing, right? You can't stop her from growing. That's springtime. If you start a business in a spring economy, it grows because everybody's growing, right? Well, springtime as a season of life is roughly, for most people, 0 to 21. Different for everybody, right? But generally, that's a stage of life when life is being given to you. Now, some of us, I did at 13 years old, had to go to work, and I know many of you had to go to work early to help your families, but I wasn't responsible for the mortgage. Plus, I was going to school, and things were being taught to me. So that stage of life is relatively protected. Again, some people's childhood is more difficult than others, but relatively. And some people's childhood goes on to like 30 these days, right? But 0 to 21 is a good rough estimate. So you grow, you expand, you learn. That's a stage of life. And every stage of life has challenges and opportunities. The next stage is 22 to 42, or 21 to 41, or 22 to 42, roughly is what it should be. And that's really young adulthood. That's when you go, okay, I was taught all this stuff by everybody else, but now I'm going to decide how life is. I'm going to test it for myself. How many of you, when you're like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, felt unbeatable, like you're going to do whatever you want in your life, make that happen, right? Right? You're 21, 2, 23, 24, that range, you're like, I'm going to be president of the United States, I'm going to be a billionaire, I'm going to have 100 relationships with 100 different people, and they're all going to be happy, right? You know, and now when you get around 30, 31, 32, 35, your brain starts to go, I'm not a billionaire, I'm not the president, and I can't even run one relationship successfully. Right? And that's usually when people come to me because they say, you know, I got to not have a standard education in school. That didn't prepare me for life. It didn't teach me to manage my life or my finances or my emotions or my body or my relationships, right? And so we get more hungry. But this season, and I really should say 22 to 42 roughly, but again, it's different for everybody. Some people they're early, some people are a little later, right? But during that time, you're testing, you're the soldier of society. You're really, if there's a war, you're the one who goes to war. They don't send the 50 and 60-year-olds usually, it's the 19, 21 to 41-year-olds, right, that go to war. And so, and you come into a company, you're the new people, right? They load you up with work, hopefully, so you can learn. This stage, by the way, is by every study the most unhappy stage in most people's life. If you're in that stage and you're a little frustrated, just know this is not going to last. It's a stage, but part of it is because you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to make your mark to yourself and maybe to other people as well. You're working out relationships. How many of you are in springtime? How many are under 21 in the room out there? Okay, cool. How many are the 22 to 42 range right now that season? Make some noise, shake your hands out there. Okay, so it's a tough time, but if you work hard in the spring and the summer, you'll reap in the fall. And the fall is a reaping time. That's 42, 43 to 63 basically. And that stage of life, you've learned so much. You've developed so many relationships. You can do more with your pinky than when you work 20 hours a day. But if you love what you do, as I do, you'll do more. Because you're not doing it for money anymore. You're doing it because it's your life. It's what you want to give, right? This is the power stage of most people's lives. This is the stage where literally you'll make the most money if you have a business of your own, or if you're a well-paid executive or you're a well-paid employee. If you move up, this is the stage you'll have the most growth. This is where you have long-term relationships. Maybe now you've known people 10, 20, 30 years. It is incredibly fulfilling time. Who's in the fall right now? Who's in that 42 to 62 range? Make some noise if you're out there. Powerful time. And if you're not, but by the way, if you don't do your work in the spring and the summer, fall's not much reaping. You got to catch up, right? You got to work hard. But if you keep working and do all these things, and you're lucky enough to be healthy, then the final season is known as winter. And that's that 63 to 83 to 103 to maybe 123, because the oldest living humans are 120 plus, right? So that stage of life is very different. I'm just entering that stage. I'm going to be 66 years old shortly, and it just blows my mind that I can't believe it. I know I'm still 25, right? But it's also, if you would have told me at 25 or 35 or 45 that this would be the most fulfilling stage of my life, I'd say you're crazy, but it really is if you're healthy. That's why you got to take care of yourself, and I am. If you're fit and you're healthy and you're strong, you have the wisdom of decades of life. You know, I have friends that I've known for 40 plus years. I have business relationships that are 30 years on. Doing business, again, I can do things with my pinky that used to take everything in me to try to figure out. I know people all over the earth in those powerful positions, and they're my friends. I can make things happen. I can feed, I've fed 1 billion people here in the United States. I set this goal. I, was fed when I was 11 years old. I had this experience, and it changed my life because we were totally broke. When I say we had no food, we had crackers and peanut butter, but we weren't going to have like a Thanksgiving dinner. And it was depressing, and my mom and dad were fighting, and they were saying things to each other you can't take back. And I have a younger brother, 5 years younger sister, 7 years younger. And I said to them at the time, I was like, just stay in the back. I didn't want them to hear this. And what changed my life was a knock on the door. And the knock on the door, I go to open the door, and there's a man standing there with 2 giant bags of groceries and an uncooked turkey on the ground. And he said, "Is your father here?" And I was like, "Just one moment." And I went and ran to get my father. It felt like Christmas morning. And I said, "Dad, there's someone at the door." He goes, "You get it." I said, "I did. It's for you." He goes, "Who is it?" I said, "I don't know," because I wanted him to see it. And so my dad opens the door, and I thought for sure he'd be lit up like a Christmas tree, and he got angry. And I couldn't understand. And he said, "We don't take charity." He went to slam the door on the guy that was delivering the food. And the guy, because the groceries had leaned in, so it hit his shoulder and it bounced off. And then my dad was even madder. And he said, Sir, I'm just the delivery guy. Somebody knows your family's having a tough time. Everybody has tough times. They just want you to have a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner for you and your family." And my dad said, "We don't take charity." He went to slam the door again, but because he'd fallen a little forward, now his foot was there. It hit his foot and opened again. My dad was really mad. And then the guy said something. I thought my dad was going to punch him in the face. And the man was not trying to be mean. He didn't say it in a mean way. He just saw me in the background. He said, "Sir, please don't let your ego get in the way of taking care of your family." I can remember like yesterday, the veins in the side of my father's throat lighting up, just beet red. And I thought I was going to punch him. And then all of a sudden there was this moment, his shoulders just dropped. He took the groceries, he put them on the table, he slammed the door and never even said thank you. I was shocked. I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. But it took me several years, and I finally figured it out. What I figured out was there's a pattern that all of us go through every moment we're alive, and I just did a different pattern than my dad. I'm not better than my dad, but I ended up with a better life because of a different pattern. I was lucky. The pattern is there's 3 decisions you're making every moment of your life. Please jot them down and see if it's true right now while you're listening to me. The first decision is, what are you going to focus on? Every moment of your life, you have to decide what to focus on. And listen to me now. You're not experiencing life. Write down, I'm experiencing the life I focus on. Right now, if you want to, how many think of many things to be pissed off about or frustrated about in your life if you wanted to be? By the way, what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. Right? So it's like if you look for what's right, you'll find it. You look for what's wrong. It's not about positive thinking. It's about being smart. Right? And whatever we focus on, we feel. As soon as we focus on something, a second decision we make is, what does this mean? What does this mean to me? Is this the end or the beginning? Is this person, dissing me? Is this person challenging me? Is this person coaching me? Or is this person actually loving on me? Whatever meaning you create, write down meaning equals emotion. Whatever meaning you give it, you're going to have a feeling. If you think they're dissing you, you're going to be pissed off. If you think they're coaching you, might be open. If you think they're loving on you, you're going to be grateful. Now, whether you're pissed off or grateful, that controls the third decision and what you answer, which is, what am I going to do? If you're pissed off, you're going to do something very different. If you think it's the end of a relationship, are you going to behave the same way if you think it's the beginning of a relationship? Of course not. So these 3 decisions control us. And my dad that day decided to focus on the fact that he had not taken care of his family. And I know it because he kept talking about it under his breath. But the worst part was the meaning he gave it. He kept saying, I'm worthless, because he'd not taken care of his family in his mind. Now, my mom helped that belief system because she said it to him too. But what he decided to do was leave our family, which at the time was the most painful experience of my life. But the most painful experience of my life led to one of the best experiences, because that day I made 3 different decisions. First, I focused on there was food. What a concept. It's like, this is incredible. But the thing that changed my life was the meaning. And I don't take credit for this. This was grace. God or the universe gave me this. I decided to focus on the fact that strangers care. I had 4 different fathers. They were all broke. They all worked their tails off. And I remember vividly thinking to myself, my dad always said, no one cares. And we lived in a community, I thought it was middle class. It was lower middle class, but we were on the other side of the railroad tracks. Literally, we were the dust of the dirt, and it looked like no one cared. But here some stranger brings food to my family, and they don't even want credit for it. That changed my life. What changed it was the belief. Strangers care. So if strangers care about me, then I need to care about strangers. So I'm with you right now today. So I'm grateful to God for that moment. And what I decided to do is someday I'm going to double this. I'm going to feed 2 more families. And so when I was 17, I gathered these goodies together. I won't tell you the whole story for time's sake, but bottom line is one of the most moving experiences of my life. One of the families I fed, their father had left about 4 days before with no food for Thanksgiving, and I delivered all the groceries. I did it as the delivery boy in a t-shirt and jeans. And next year I did 4, next year 8. I eventually got to 1 million meals a year, then 2 million meals a year. Then I got my companies involved and people involved. And then 14 years ago, I guess, I decided to find out how many people I'd fed. And the total number was 42 million over 37 years. And I was really proud of that and grateful for that. But I thought, I've learned to scale businesses. What if I scaled my philanthropy? What if I fed as many people literally in a year as I've done in my whole life? 40 million, 50 million. Then what if I've had twice that, 100 million a year? What if I did 100 million a year for 10 years? And I set this outcome to do it within 10 years, and I'm proud to tell you, I did it in 8 years. We fed over 1 billion people here through my partnership with Feeding America here in America. And I want to thank all of you, because we're going to donate 1 million meals for your participation during this time here. That's a really beautiful piece. So, you know, it wasn't a straight shot of all this. By the way, then I saw that what's happening around the world. Now I'm doing a 100 billion meal challenge without boring you with the details. In the first 3 years, it sounded impossible. We fed 62 billion meals. So how do we get to that? It started with me just, so let me take 2 minutes to tell you my background so you'll have an understanding, because I don't want you to think like I just showed up this way. Some people don't understand. I started with nothing. But in the early stage of my life, I got obsessed with wanting to learn anything that would change the quality of a person's life. I took a speed reading class and I said, I'm gonna read a book a day, and I didn't do that, but in 7 years I read 700 books in the area of human development, psychology, physiology, philosophy, anything I thought could change the quality of life. And I remember when I was just 17, I was working hard. I was going to high school, and then I was working as a janitor so I could help support the family. And I was actually 5'1" my sophomore year in high school, 1.5 meters. I'm now 6'7", 2 meters. I tell people the difference is personal growth, right? You know? But I had a tumor in my brain, and it made me grow 10 inches in a year. So by the time I was 17, I'm this tall, lanky guy all of a sudden. And my mom says, hey, there's this friend of ours that's really doing well now. He's buying homes and flipping them in Orange County, California. This is back in the late 1977. And she said he saves money by hiring kids to do the moving, and he's willing to hire you maybe. I said, great, you know, I'd love to do it and earn some more money. So I show up and he goes, oh, well, this is great. Here's what you're gonna do. And he gave me this workload, and I did about 50% more than he expected. And he was like, you have a work ethic. So he said, I wanna take you to lunch. So he took me to lunch and he started to ask me questions. And I said, well, I want to pick your brain. I said, oh, I left out the most important part. My father said to me before I went to go see this guy, he goes, yeah, you ought to find out what he did. He used to be such a loser. Now he's really successful. So at lunch, I'm a kid, right? I don't mean anything by it. I go, well, my dad said you used to be such a loser. Now you're so successful. How come? He goes, your dad said, what? And he goes, well, it's true. Now, so what changed you? He said, I went to a seminar. I said, a seminar? I never even heard of a seminar. What's a seminar? He said, well, it's where a guy takes his life's distinctions, all that he's learned over decades of life, and he compresses it. And he says he does the seminar for 3 hours, and he shows you the best tools so you can have a better life and save yourself a lot of time and a lot of pain. And I said, that sounds really awesome. I said, could you get me in? And he said, yes. And I said, well, will you? Because he didn't do anything. He said, no. And I said, why not? And he said, well, because if I do it for you, if you don't pay for it, you're not going to value it. I said, how much is it? He said, $35. In today's dollars, about $250, right, after inflation. And I was making $40 a week as a janitor, like $300 a week, this would be now these days. And I'm like, that's a week's pay for 3 hours? And he said, yeah. I said, well, I don't know. He goes, well, okay, well, then just go learn on your own and take decades and maybe never learn it. Or you could invest in yourself and you could learn tools that could save you decades. So I wrestled with this decision like it was the biggest decision of my life, right? Looking back on it now, it's such a simple decision, but it seemed huge then, right? And I had no idea it was one of the more important decisions of my life. And I finally had to go for it. I'm gonna spend a week's pay, go listen to this guy for 3 hours, and I had no idea how much that would change my life. I went to the seminar. It was very simple philosophy. It wasn't so much strategy. I believe in philosophy and strategy, but he had simple philosophy. Things like, for things to change, you gotta change. For things to get better, you gotta get better. He explained that if you're gonna grow economically, there are people that make 10 times more money than you do. Why? Not because they're lucky, because they found a way to add more value. If you make a McDonald's X amount of money, that's because anybody could do that job. But if you become more valuable, he said, we're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. And I learned these tools and I got so excited. So I went to Jim Rohn after the seminar and started talking 100 miles a minute because my mom had chased my father out. And then on Christmas Eve, she chased me out with a knife. I knew she wasn't gonna kill me, but I wasn't going back in that house. I spent the first night on the hill and then it rained. The next night I convinced a girlfriend, a girl that was a friend, her family, to let me stay in their laundry room. I was very depressed. But now I was working as a janitor, trying to make myself support and go to high school. And so I told them my story and they said, I want to come to work for you because this is the stuff I want to teach. And he said, well, young man, you'd have to get an education, and we have all these seminars. And he told me all the things. He said, you'd have to go to the seminars. I said, well, I'd love to. I said, but they're kind of expensive. He goes, yeah, it's $1,200. It'd be like $10,000 for a weekend today. And I was like, that's incredibly intense. I mean, I'm sleeping in my car now, because that's where I moved to next. I had a 1968 Volkswagen Bug. I said, I'm just starting to build up, a little bit of money. I don't have that kind of money. He goes, young man, I said, why don't you loan it to me? I'll go to your seminar, I'll change my life, and I'll tell everybody you're the reason it happened, right? And he looked at me and he said, young man, I'm not your banker. He said, some people have to survive. Some people have to succeed. Decide which one you are. And if you're the one who's going to succeed, you'll show up with the money on a week from Saturday at 10 a.m. I remember leaving, I was so pissed off. I thought, this guy, he's trying to get $1,200 out of a kid sleeping in his car. What is this? And I was so angry. And then this voice inside my head said, he's right, he's right, he's right. And I was like, he's right what? He's right. You've always gotten what you had to have, but you didn't have to have much. And so I decided I'm going to get this money. So I'm 17 years old, and I start going to banks, thinking that if you go to a bank, they loan it to people that need the money, right? And many of you, if you've gone to a bank, you discover they only give money to people that don't need it, right? They want to loan me money now, I don't need it. So after 9 banks, and I'd read that, Disney had gone nearly bankrupt. He'd gone to over 100 no's before he got his first yes. So I was like keeping my brain going. I get the last one, I'm running out of time. It was the Bank of America in a place called West Covina, California. I'll never forget, on Citrus Avenue. Before I walked in, I did something, I didn't know what I was doing. I could tell you today, if you're gonna change your performance, the first thing you gotta do is change your level of energy, the amount of physical force inside your body. It's changing your mental, emotional state. If you're in a depressed state, it's very low energy. Sad state, low energy. If you're excited, if you're passionate, it's different. So I made this change in my body, and I got determined, and I walked into this place, and I looked for a woman or a man that looked persuadable. And I found this woman across the aisle there, and she had these kind eyes, and I remember I stormed up to her, and I said, hi, I'm Tony Robbins. I said, I'm here today to borrow $1,200. I'm not here to borrow it to fix a car, go on vacation. I want to do it so I can attend a seminar. And she started to laugh, which was not a good sign, right? And she said, what? I said, no, I sat down, I want to go to this seminar, this guy, Jim Rohn, he's going to teach me manage my time and this and that. And I said, I'm going to learn this stuff, not just for me. I said, and I wasn't thinking millions of people or billions of people. I went, I'm going to help over 1 million people in my lifetime. I promise you. And this woman says, okay, settle down. Let me see your application. She starts reading my application. The first thing she notices, she says, you're 17. I said, yeah. She goes, you have to be 18 to sign a contract for a loan. I said, how soon do I have to be 18? She said, to sign the loan. I said, well, I'll be 18 very soon, right? My 18th birthday was 2 weeks away. So she goes, okay. So she reads more, and she goes, Citrus Avenue. It's a giant avenue that goes through 5 cities in Southern California, and it's a commercial avenue. And she said, I didn't know there were any apartments on Citrus Avenue. And so I couldn't lie to her. So I said, well, I don't really have an apartment. I have kind of a mobile home. And she says, what do you mean? I said, well, I got kicked out. I told her the story, and I said, so I parked. There's the 7-Eleven. You know where the 7-Eleven is? And the Denny's. They're both Denny's 24 hours. So I parked there, and I convinced the mailman. I told him what happened. I'm there at noon every day to get my mail. So if you send my mail there, I'll get it. And she looks at me and says, you want the bank to loan you $1,200 and we can send it to 7-Eleven and we can count on you picking it up? And I said, no, you don't understand. I said, I got to do this. This is my one thing I'm going to make. And I just got so intense. She goes, calm down. And she looked at it again, and she looked me in the eyes, and she said, I don't think the bank will loan you the money. I said, no, but she says, listen to me. She goes, with this kind of energy and this kind of commitment, she says, I think you're going to do something. She said, I'm going to go to the bank manager. I'm going to speak for you. But if they don't do it, I will loan you the money if you look me in the eye and say, I will never have to come find you. You will come and deliver it to me personally. Right? And I jumped up and I hugged this woman. Her name was Mrs. Williams. And I said, I will always tell the story how you gave me my start. And I still do. She passed away more than 15 years ago. And by the way, she got the bank to loan me the money. I don't know how the hell she did it. I don't know if she co-signed or whatever, but she did. She probably didn't tell them the mail was going to 7-Eleven. And I took $1,200 and I went to this one weekend seminar with Jim Rohn. It's one weekend. I didn't have enough money for a hotel room. I was going to sleep in my car, but I met a guy there named Mike Keys. I think he's watching today. I've known him for 45 years, 46 years. And he was almost as broke as me, but he had enough for a hotel room. And he goes, look, don't stay there. Come stay in my hotel room. And we became good friends. And he and I, when Jim Rohn, before he died, he used to start his seminars the same way. He goes, you know, every time I get up here, I think I better do a good job because you never know who's in your audience. And he'd say, I remember years ago, decades ago, there was a young man taking notes like crazy, yelling out answers. His name was Tony Robbins. He goes, he started here with me. And he said, so I don't know if you're Tony Robbins, but I'm here to deliver for you. He talked about Mike several times as well. But you know what the difference was? $1,200 was my mortgage on my house, my car I was sleeping in. So like, I didn't go to the bathroom. He said the, I wrote the. I figured out one point, every word was worth 3 cents, right? There's some people it's easy to go. If it's easy, and by the way, that's the weakness in this program. I will tell you honestly, it's free. So don't take it for granted because it's free. Show up on time, play full out. Don't leave after you get 2 hours. Stay for the whole thing. I promise you, tools that will make you change. But also, here's what I ask of you. The one thing, this is my gift to you. The one thing I ask back is you take action. So at the end of each of these 3 days, I'm going to give you a little homework piece. It's not hard, but it'll give you momentum. It'll get you go from thinking about stuff to actually doing it. And then I'm going to ask you to share it on Facebook so people can share their changes and transformations. And I'll probably be up all night tonight watching those as I was last night because now we'll see the changes in people, which will be really beautiful. So that's how I got my start. So I went to work for Jim Rohn, and then I started studying. I heard about something called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Some of you may have heard of it. In the late 1970s, early 80s, it was the most cutting edge that you could imagine, how to create change in minutes that would usually take months or years. So I went to the founder of it. And the only people doing it were therapists in those days. His name was John Grinder. And I said, Mr. Grinder, I said, I got to do this. I said, these people, they're used to having people for months or years. I know you can change them in minutes. I don't have their limiting beliefs. I'll learn this. I'll apply this. And if you don't let me in, it was a Holiday Inn he was teaching at. I said, I'll put my ear to the door and I'll take notes anyway. So you might as well take my money. And so he let me in. And it was a 6-month training program. And in the first 4 days, we learned how to wipe out a lifetime phobia in less than an hour. And so I was so excited about this. At the end of the class, there was a Denny's right around the corner. I ran around the Denny's and I saw this poor old man standing there at the counter. It's like, hi, tell me what problem is. I'll handle it. I got these great tools, right? I was just so passionate. And then my career jumped, and this is all I'll finish with, is I had a friend that lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I know there's some people out there from BC. Hello to all of you. But he was studying NLP with a group of people, and he said, Tony, you taught me more in a weekend than they've taught me in these last 6 months. He goes, why don't you come up and be a guest speaker here? They'd love to have you do like a seminar. I told them how great you are. So my first seminar, I went up to this group and I did this seminar called Be Your Own Hero, 4 days and nights. I did this thing, total immersion, and it was quite transformational. And then the final piece was, while I was there, so many people got these great changes that a radio station heard about it. So they called me, and I got on the air. This is, back when I was 23 years old, so 1983. It was the beginning of shock jocks, right? Before I knew what a shock jock was. Somebody's going to try and just get you on the phone and mess with you on the radio. And so I got on, and he goes, well, tell me what to do. And I said, here's what I can do. And I said, I don't care what your problem is. I don't care if you've had it for years. I don't care if you have an uncontrollable phobia. I'll handle it in 1 hour. I am the one-stop therapist, right? And he goes, well, if you're that therapist, I have a therapist online. I have a psychiatrist. I'd like to question you. And so the psychiatrist comes on the line and starts saying I'm a liar and a charlatan and what I'm saying is impossible and people like me should not be allowed on the radio. And he made my career because I stayed centered and calm. And I said, sir, have you ever met me? He said, no. I said, have you ever met any of my clients? He said, no. I said, you've never met me. You've never met my clients. And yet you call me a liar on national radio. I said, are you a scientist? He said, of course, I'm a physician. I said, well, a scientist would never make an assumption. He would have to test his hypothesis. Your hypothesis is I'm a liar and charlatan. Is that right? He goes, yes. I said, okay. Well, then I suggest you come and prove it. I said, tomorrow night I'm at the Holiday Inn doing a free seminar. Everyone can come. I'm going to do a series of interventions. I said, you should bring me one of your patients. Bring me one that you've never been able to cure. I said, I'm sure you got plenty of those. So if you want to mess with me, I can mess back, right? So he goes, well, we all have patients that aren't ready to change yet. I said, that's funny. I haven't found any. Of course, I've only done 4 therapies in my whole life at that point. But I believed. And so anyway, we got into this intensity. And then finally, the guy cuts him off and says, we'll see you tomorrow night at the Holiday Inn. So the next night of the Halloween, I'm hoping for 100 people to show up. Guess how many people show up? 500 people to see the shootout at OK Corral between me and this guy. How many of you do what I do? I'm curious. How many of you meet somebody on the phone for the first time? You haven't met them in person? How many of you make a picture of what they look like, or their size, what they're like in intensity? Make a little noise if you can relate. Well, I picture this guy. It's okay, I'll be there. This intense voice. So I'm looking around, and those days I introduced myself. I'm looking before I start trying to find this guy. I'm imagining a giant man he told me he's going to bring this woman with him who had a snake phobia. And the snake phobia, if you don't know what a phobia is, it's an uncontrollable physical response to a stimulus. So she'd have a dream at night that snake bite her on the face, and the adrenaline would go through her body and wake her up. And I said, how long has that happened? She goes, well, 2 or 3 times a night. I said, how long have you been treating her? He said, 7 years. And the way he ended the calls, I said, well, that should take me 20 or 30 minutes, right? So I'm looking for a giant man with a scared woman on his arm, and nobody matches that. So finally, this side door bursts open. It's like a movie because we have 500 people in this room. It's not made for 500 people. Standing in the aisles and the walls. If the fire department comes, they're going to shut me down. The side door bursts open, and a guy about this tall walks in. He walks right in front of me as I'm standing there, right, to give you an idea, right? And literally, and I realize it's him. He's got this woman with him, and I go to shake his hand. He wouldn't shake my hand. He just goes, here's the woman. Hey. So I helped this poor woman up, and I said, man, why don't you just have a seat right here if you would? And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I said, how many of you heard me on the radio? Like 90% of the people raised their hand. That's why they came. I said, well, this is the woman in question. She's had a phobia. She's been treated for 7 years by this psychiatrist right here, and I'm going to show you how fast we can change it in a matter of minutes, right? And I said, ma'am, can I tell you, how do you feel about snakes? And I shouted, and she starts shaking, because if you've ever seen a phobia, it's not a response where the mind works, it's just automatic response. She's shaking, spitting. So I calm her down, and I say, okay, now we're going to make some changes. And I did this thing for about roughly 15, 16 minutes, 17 minutes. And then I said to her, ma'am, how do you feel about snakes? No reaction. I said, how's that feel? She goes, that feels different. So I said, okay, just one moment. And I walk behind her, and I walk a couple steps back where I had this table, and I grab this bag, a little knapsack. And as I start behind her here, people can see in the audience that the bottom of it's moving. And I reach down in it, I go, and I put this in front of her. It was a little garden snake. And she sees the snake, and she didn't shake or spit, but she did pull back. She did have a scared look on her face. I said, how do you feel about that? She goes, well, how do you feel about snakes? She goes, well, they're not very attractive. And I said, well, but notice you're not spitting, you're not shaking, you're not out of control. She goes, yeah. I said, imagine what it'd feel like to hold that snake. She goes, I don't know. All of a sudden the audience starts going, hold it. Hold it, hold it. And so she grabs the snake, starts squeezing. I said, don't kill it, right? And that was the opening to my career. So then every session I did, I would do some kind of dramatic example. I took people addicted to cigarettes. I did all these different, I had a woman who hadn't had an orgasm in 10 years, gave an orgasm, without touching her, of course, without touching her. I had guys saying to me, can you teach me how to do that when I'm tired, right? This is amazing. Then I started working with sports teams. Then I got a chance to work with Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela and President Clinton. Then I started building businesses. So that's how I got here. So that hopefully gives you a little background that it's not something happened overnight to make. Now, okay, what are we going to do? What do we need to do? The world is changing. So here's what we have to do. We have to re-engineer ourselves so that in this new environment, we can succeed, we can enjoy our lives, we can have what we really want. And when I say re-engineer, think of it this way. If you have the nicest car in the world, you had a Ferrari, and it's the best car you can imagine, but you try to take that Ferrari out on a race like the Baja, where you're going through the desert, or the Dakar. You know, the Dakar is a 12-day, 9,300-mile race that's done literally through the desert. So it's like you can't survive if that's what you're doing. So I don't care what race you're talking about, the Baja, a 24-hour race, you have to retool your car to be in that environment. Ferrari's not going to do well in any one of those. You have to change it. So we got to make some changes in us. In order to make the changes in us, though, we have to first take on the first pattern that's required if you're going to have successful change. For example, how many of you have had something you said you're going to change, you promised yourself you're going to do it, and you didn't do it, and you beat yourself up about it verbally? Make some noise if you can relate to this, right? How many have done this more than once? Say aye. So in order to make change, the most important pattern, it's so simple that when I tell you, oh, great breakthrough thought, Tony, but it's the one that people don't do, and that is energy. You have to shift your energy. Nothing changes without more energy. If you see somebody who's depressed or stuck, their energy's high or low. Which one? Put it in the chat box. You know which one it is. Which one? Of course. Low, low, low. Of course. When you make change, it requires energy. A big change requires more energy. Now, when you think about energy, and if you're to say what changes people's quality of life more than anything else, you say, but Tony, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I mean, I don't have any energy. I didn't sleep last night. Honestly, I didn't sleep much either. I'm reading all your stuff, right? And I got excited and I was wired by it. So, but how many of you have ever had a night where you had no sleep, but then something happened and you were excited all day long? How many have had an experience like this before? How many have had a day where you slept 8 hours and you were still tired? Make some noise. So when people say, when I ask people, where does energy come from? Like, I don't have much energy right now. Where does it come from? People say, well, sleep. No, sleep's valuable, but it's not required for energy. The other thing people tell me is food, right? I go, food? How many of you remember your last big holiday, Thanksgiving or Christmas holiday, something like that? And how many remember your holiday meal? Make some noise. You remember that meal, ladies and gentlemen? So I got a question for you. When you're that big holiday meal and you ate that big food, how much did you eat? More than your stomach could contain, probably, right? And what'd you say? Oh, I'll never eat again. And then someone said pumpkin pie, and you went, okay, right? And then at the end of that meal, did you feel like going on a run? No, what'd you feel like doing? Getting on that couch, maybe watch the game, a little sleep. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about, right? How many of you, by a raise of hands, how many of you, or by thumbs up if you're at home there on YouTube, how many of you ever gone on a fast for 3 days or more? 3 days or more. Not as many of you. As you get past the first day, that's the hardest day. By the second day, certainly by the third, you've had no food. Does your energy increase or decrease? Put it in the chat right now. Increase or decrease? That's right. Increase, 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 increase. Of course it does. You go, well, how could it increase without the food? Because food is not the source of energy. Energy is a habit. It's a psychological habit, and it affects everything in your life. Let me give you an example. Let's use an example that's simple. When you're in a relationship, and let's say there's two people that totally, completely love each other. They don't slightly like each other, they adore each other, right? They love each other heart and soul, and they want to be with each other. And they both train their bodies and minds to stay at high levels of energy. So two people that totally adore and love each other, super high level of energy. Write in the chat box, what kind of relationship are they going to have? Is it going to be good? It's going to be okay? It's going to be magnificent, extraordinary, terrible? What would you say? Right? It's going to skyrocket. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be passionate. Good. All true. What if you took the same two people? They love each other just as much, but they let their energy get worn down a bit by life and by habits and by challenges in their life, and they go from this peak level of energy to, good, okay, better than dead. The same two people. Tell me, is it the same relationship, yes or no? Is it going to be a magnificent relationship, an amazing relationship, or is it going to have some problems? Which one would you say? How many? Raise your hand if you think it's going to have some problems. Watch this. What if you get two people that totally love each other completely, but they let their energy really get worn down to now they're in a real low energy state. They're burnt. And now it could be 20 soccer practices and the work, and maybe there's a cash flow problem in the business, and maybe somebody's getting sick, and maybe grandma's got something else going on, and now they're both really low. They totally love each other, but they're the ground. Is it going to be the same relationship? No. It's not going to be magnificent. It's not going to be great. In fact, is it possible in that state to say things or do things that your partner will remember and not forget? How many know what I'm talking about here? Make some noise if you know what I mean. So I tell you this because your energy is the base of everything. And if you and I are going to change, and you're sitting at home and you just hear me talk, that's not going to do it. We're not going to start doing things. I'm going to give you a set of distinctions, and we're going to do some exercises. And as we start to do it, and if you don't bring a lot of energy to it, it won't work. And so you're at home. Now, if you're with me in a stadium, obviously, I got 15, 20,000 people, the rock and roll music's going. I mean, you don't have a choice, really. You're going to be surrounded by it. It's like going to a sporting event when there's 50,000 people. Well, we've got 1.2 million, but you're in your house. And some of you got a friend nearby or a family member I see. But what we got to do is generate energy in our bodies so that we can make these changes. So in order to trigger yourself, if you want to do well in life, how many of you believe, don't BS me, give me a yes or a thumbs up in the chat box, or if you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand. How many believe that energy is the single most important thing to change the quality of your life and have a great quality of life? How many agree? And you already knew this before I said it, but we're not practicing it. Like, how many of you know somebody that knows something they need to change, they say they want to change, and they still don't do it? How many know somebody like this? Maybe you know the person intimately, right? Like you, right? So the problem is energy. So how do we get it when we don't feel it? Like, I got 4 hours sleep, but I got to get up and deliver for you. This is easy compared to a normal event, but I'll travel around the world and, 20-hour flight to go to the Middle East, and I got to get up and deliver for 10,000 people, and my body is out of sync. I can't get up and do an okay job. So the way we do it is by using our body first. If you lead with the body, you can generate, okay? So I want you to try something with me just for a second. Would you stand up? Stand up wherever you are. Stand up, shake your body out. Come on, get it up there, stand up wherever you are in the world, shake it out. Shake your body, get a little energy in your body for a second here, come on. Now, so here's what we're going to do. Shake your body out, and we're going to do a little exercise. It's simple. It's really simplistic. I want you to point at somebody on the screen. Now, if there's somebody next to you, you can point at them directly if somebody's in the room with you who's doing this. Otherwise, point at somebody on the screen whether they see you or not, and I want you to say, I own you, baby. No, say it like you mean, I own you. No, I own you. Now, are there any competitive people out there? Make some noise. Give me a thumbs up if you're competitive. Good. Then here's what I want you to do. Oh, by the word competition in Latin means to conspire together. What does that mean? If I want to play basketball with you, I'm going to push you as hard as I can so you get better. I want you to push me as hard as you can so I get better. So we're going to push each other just for a second in this little 30-second drill. And all we're going to do is this. We're going to go, I own you, I own you, own you, back and forth, whether they see you or not. And when you say I own you, what you're really basically saying is, I have more energy than you, you low energy person, right? You're challenging them. And then what we're going to do, we're going to clap 1, and we'll count 2. And when I say 3, I'm going to ask you to jump, leap, and expand your energy. You're going to make sound. By the way, how many of you sing when no one's around? You like to make sounds, right? The reason we use sound is it wakes up a different part of our nervous system. So I'm going to ask you to celebrate like you're a little kid for 30 seconds, like you achieved the greatest gift of your life, the greatest goal, you had the greatest orgasm of your life, whatever made you go, right? And you're going to jump and leap. You're not going to do it like an adult, like, yay, right? You're going to literally jump, leap, and create as much energy and as much sound as loud as you can for 30 seconds and outdo the person you're looking at on the screen. All right, but there's 30 seconds, build the energy. Who's willing to go for it here? If you want to go for it, give me a thumbs up, say aye. Say aye. Say aye. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, go, 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 go. Make some noise. Get a virtual high five or fist bump. Go ahead, give it up. Tell your partner, great job. You rock, so do I. Well done. Then grab a seat in a peak state. Get a sip of water so you stay hydrated. I need some water. Somebody got some water for me too here? Take a little sip of water. Stay hydrated. Now, notice if you or the person you're watching on the screen did this, you're like jumping, going for it, then you went, oh man, Sure glad that crap's over so we can get back to the seminar. Okay? Sit up in your chair like you're in a peak state and make more energy in your chair than you did when you were standing. Come on, wake it up. Make some noise. If you feel strong, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now, don't let that drop when you're in this state. Now, by the way, you might say, well, what is this? Kind of some motivational pump-up stuff. I don't believe in just motivation. I don't believe that if you got a problem, you should go to your garden where there's weeds and start chanting, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. I believe in tell yourself the truth. See things as they are. If you're a leader, you're a parent, you're a business person, there's 3 mandates. Jot them down. Number 1, see things as they really are, but not worse than they are. Everybody these days wants to make it worse than it is. Now, part of that is social media. Part of that has to do with just the media. The media are good people, but they have one job. They have to take care of their shareholders. How do you take care of shareholders? The answer is really simple. You got to get people's attention. Right? We're not an information society. The information society died a long time ago. There's too much information. We're drowning in information. We're starving for wisdom. So what does the media do? They have to get your attention when everything's trying to get your attention, and they know intensity sells. They're not here to inform you. They're here to startle you. You turn on the television, it says, oh my God, water could kill your child. Film at 11, right? Come on. Why do people have those headlines that are total bullshit when you read the article? Clickbait. Because the minute you click it, they make money. And they're not here to make money for you. They're made for their shareholders, so they got to get more eyeballs. So it's not their fault. They know if it bleeds, it leads. So we tend to think things are worse than they are because we're hearing about everything bad in the world in milliseconds, things you wouldn't have known in your lifetime about something happened in another country 2 seconds ago. And if it's not on television, obviously most of it's in our pocket following us on social media or the news lines that were pushed to us. So you have to train yourself to see things as they are, but not worse than it is. Seeing it as it are is like, I used to say, well, I'm big boned. No, I was freaking fat, right? I was 38 pounds heavier than I am now. And I was like, I have the same bones, but that was my story in my head, right? So see it as it is. That's what I want to do these next 3 days, even if you don't like it, but don't make it worse than it is, because then if you make it worse than it is, you give up. You just go, why even try? The whole world's over. It's all coming apart. The second mandate to really being a leader is you got to see the situation better than it is, because that's called vision. There's a little book called The Good Book, and has a phrase that says, without a vision, people perish. That's true of any understanding of leadership in this world. You got to see beyond the moment, or you'll have no drive to make it better. No matter how bad it is, anyone can deal with it difficult today if we have a compelling tomorrow, a compelling future. And then thirdly, now that you see it better, you got to make it the way you see it. And that requires strategy. And that's why I work on both strategy and philosophy. Philosophy is what changes how you feel, the meaning of things, the emotion. Strategy is how you get it done. And we're going to do all 3 of these here. Now, having said that, none of this works if you stay in the same state that you were in before, like the passive state. Most of us were trained in school to sit passively, right? The bell rings, you run to your chair, you sat down since you're a little kid, and you're supposed to sit down and do what? Sit down, shut up, don't talk to your neighbor. Well, today, if you sit down and don't talk to your neighbor, you're out of business. How many know what I'm talking about here? Say aye, right? Those days are over. Today, you have to actively go after it. And if you're sitting passively while we're doing these things and learning, you might go, this is really interesting, or wow, that could be really useful, or damn, he has big teeth. Whatever you're thinking right now, right? But the point of the matter is, if you're in a peak state when you're learning, and you force yourself to stay in this state, then when you learn something, you feel like doing it. Otherwise, if you go, this is really good, later on you go, yeah, I probably should do this, I probably should. That won't change it, right? Let me just show you 3 minutes, because during COVID, which is when I started this, people were stuck at home. And that stuck at home created a real problem. It's still going on today. people's energy levels have been lowered so much across the world, and their engagement levels are so different in their work and what they do in their life, because we spent 3 years sitting in front of screens or doing nothing in a little room, and we don't even realize that we're like fish in water. So during that time, Stanford came to me, and they had a couple of professors that had gone through my Date with Destiny seminar, and they were both clinically depressed, and they had no more depression, got rid of the drugs. They said, "This is unbelievable. Do you have data on this?" And I said, "No, but I've got millions of graduates. But if you wanted to study, let's do it." Let me just show you real quick what happened, because this will help you understand that what you're doing is based on science, and it'll show you the results. It'll blow your mind. Take a look. This process we're going to do together over this couple of days, it is designed scientifically. I know it works because I've been doing this for decade after decade after decade. During COVID, more people got stuck in depression and anxiety, and I got a phone call from Stanford University, who had done research on our Unleash the Power Within events. They came to me and said, "Look, we had 2 of our professors who were clinically depressed who went through your Date with Destiny seminar, and they said their lives are completely changed. They've thrown away all the drugs. They don't have any symptoms of depression. Do you have any data on this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I've got millions of graduates. I can give you the testimonials. We've done follow-ups." They said, "No, but like scientific data." I said, "Well, what do you want to study?" And they said, "Depression, because it's out of control." And I said, "Great, let's do it." The meta-studies show that when people are depressed and they go for treatment, whether it's drugs or therapy or both, on average, 60% of the people make 0 improvement. 40% improve, but on average, they only improve 50%. Now, some people get well, but most don't. Most people take these drugs for another 10 years. I said, if those are your statistics, we'll blow that number out, I'm certain. I said, but what's the best result you've ever gotten in the history of psychiatry? It was done at Johns Hopkins University. They did a study where they took people that are clinically depressed, and for a month, they gave them psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, and did cognitive therapy on them. 6 weeks after, 54% of the people that did psilocybin and cognitive therapy simultaneously had no symptoms of depression. It's the greatest result they've ever seen in the history of psychiatry. I said, our goal is to beat that. Here's what's cool. They did the study, and here's the result. After 6 weeks, after just 5 days, 5.5 days, no drugs, no cognitive therapy, remarkably, 93% of the people had no clinical depression whatsoever, and the remaining 7% had significant improvement. Even better, 17% of the people went in there with suicidal ideation, thinking about suicide. Every single one was no longer in that state afterward. And even better, 1 year later, they followed up and they found a reduction in negative emotions by over 70%, an increase in positive emotions of 50% a year later. There's a method to our madness here. They sent a group out for 36 months, that's a performance group in partnership with Stanford, and they followed me at all my live seminars and then digital seminars when COVID hit. And I wore this $60,000 device. It measures everything. And during every break, they got up and they took my blood, they took my saliva to see my hormonal changes and everything else. And they discovered lots of crazy things. Like one, in an average seminar like this, I jump 1,100 times in a day. So imagine I'm 290 pounds, 4 times your body weight, it's like 1,000 pounds of pressure 1,000 times. It's 1,000,000 pounds of pressure in one day on my body. So my bone density looks like a gorilla. I burn 11,300 calories on average. It's like 2.5 marathons or 2.5 NBA games back to back or 10 NHL practices in a row is what they told me. I burn 4,000 before I even get on stage thinking. Chess masters, I found out, will burn 3,500 to 4,000 sitting just playing the game because your brain uses so much energy. You've ever been with a friend and you get on a run and you get to the point where you can't talk anymore? That means the lactic acid in your body has gone to 4. Well, I'm on stage doing 18 and still speaking. And then they uncovered why this stuff lasts. They decided to track these changes in my body, but then they decided to also track the audience. They have something they call the championship biochemistry. What happens is your testosterone surges, mine surges through the roof, which gives you drive and focus and energy. When you're in a high testosterone state, you remember everything. If I asked you where were you at 9/11 the moment you heard about it, how many remember exactly where you were? If I asked you where were you on 8/11 of the same year, you don't have any idea. That's because information without emotion is barely retained. You got to use your body. Second thing happens is Tom Brady can be in the last 2 minutes of a game down by 10 points, which seems impossible, and he comes back to win the Super Bowl. How? His testosterone surges, so he's got this incredible focus and drive, and his cortisol disappears, so there's no stress. Normally, when your testosterone shoots up, you have this stress hormone called cortisol that pops up. Well, in my body, what happens, testosterone surges and cortisol, the stress hormone, drops off. What they found is it isn't just me. If you do what I do, if you'll jump, clap, move, do the things we do, yell back the answers, it looks like music. We all go into the state of high testosterone, low cortisol stress, and we balance that piece out, and people experience it, and that's why you retain this. The results come by changing your biochemistry, and that's why it's gonna last. Who's wanna go for it? Create some energy in your body right now, ladies and gentlemen, wake it up. So here's what we're gonna do. Keep your energy strong, and let's focus on why I think you're really here. I'm sure you didn't come here to just hear stories or learn about principles. That's nice to learn. How many came here because you want a breakthrough? You want to create a breakthrough in your life, something you want to make a real change in, ladies and gentlemen? Awesome. Then do me a favor. Write down in the chat box, what is a breakthrough? You say you want it? What is it? Put it in the chat box for me. What would you say a breakthrough is? Give me a title. How would you describe what a breakthrough is? And I'll read what you got here. Go ahead and type it in right away. What's a breakthrough? A change, a moment, an aha. Yes, something where you now know it's done. Very good. Now some of you are going so fast, hard to read here. Okay, that's good. A decision, keep going. A transformation, a feeling, a peace of mind, a transformation, a massive change, a positive change. Okay, all of your definitions are great. There's no wrong definition, but let me give you my definition, if I may. I think a breakthrough is a moment in time when everything changes. It's a moment, and it's important to know it's a moment because it means at any moment you could create a breakthrough. It's a moment in time when everything changes, when what looked impossible becomes possible and you act on it. That's a real breakthrough. So you might want to jot down, it's a moment in time when everything changes because what was impossible now becomes possible in your mind and you act on it. Now, you can have, what can trigger a breakthrough? Type in there, if you've ever had a breakthrough, what triggered it? What kind of things triggered you to have a breakthrough? Some people say a conversation, some people say an insight, a new experience. Sometimes a big challenge makes you have a breakthrough. Sometimes it's a new emotion that does it. Sometimes a chronic illness, prayer, meditation, a new perspective, energy, a new belief. Loss sometimes can trigger it. A decision can trigger it. All your answers are absolutely right. So we can be triggered. We watch a movie and get inspired. We can meet somebody who's doing something and think, have you ever met somebody and thought to yourself, they were really successful and you were not successful in that area? You thought to yourself, if they can do that, I can do it. Who's ever had that thought? Make a little noise if you can relate to that somewhere, right? So breakthroughs happen in a moment, and they can be triggered by many things. So let's you and I figure out how to create a breakthrough in you, not by me telling you how, but by you doing a quick little exercise with me. I'm gonna ask you to think of an area of your life where you struggled to make a change. You know what I mean? Like you said you're gonna lose weight or stop smoking or end this relationship or whatever. You said you're gonna do it, and then you didn't do it. And you said you're gonna do it and didn't do it, and maybe you got mad at yourself, maybe beat yourself up, but then one day, even though you'd failed many other times in the past or not followed through, on this day, you broke through. Something happened inside you and you went, not another day, not an hour, another moment. This is changing now, and you made the change. How many of you can think of a time in your life, an area, where you struggled until one day you broke through? Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Come on, make some noise if you have this experience, okay? So I want you to write down, answer 3 questions. First, what is the area you were struggling with that you did create a breakthrough? So what was the area? Real quick, what's the area you're struggling with that you created a breakthrough? Secondly, tell me what triggered you to break through in that moment. What was the trigger that you tried many times before, but in that moment, it all changed? What triggered the change in that moment? Was it something, was it an emotion? Was it an upset? Was it anger? Was it excitement? Was it inspiration? Was somebody you met? Was it a new strategy? And then third question is, what made it last? Was it a new belief? Did you have a new strategy you learned how to run your business or lose weight or do something? Did you learn a new skill? Did you get a new tool? Did you bring a new emotion? You brought enough anger or enough excitement or enough love or whatever it is, and finally it changed. So 3 questions. What was your breakthrough? What was the thing you struggled with? What was the moment that changed it? What triggered it in that moment? I know you've struggled a lot, but that moment it changed. Why that moment? And then thirdly, what made it last? Was it a new belief, a new emotion, a new skill you learned? And maybe how did your life change as a result of that for the better? I want you to jot it down and put some music on. We're going to do it just 3 minutes as fast as you can. And then I'm going to call on some of you and we're going to process this. Here we go. Let's do it. Start out with what's the area you struggled with, but you did break through. Could have been financial, could have been emotional, could have been a relationship, could have been finance, could have been a habit you wanted to get rid of. And then most importantly, why in that moment did you finally change? Why in that moment? What triggered you in that moment to really make it happen? And then finally, what made it last? Did you have a new belief? Did you bring a different level of emotional intensity? What emotion was it? New belief about what's possible? Did you meet somebody? Did you get a strategy that you never had before that showed you how to do it? And how did that change your life for the better? Elaine says, weight loss, I lost 70 kilograms. Breakthrough was listening to Personal Power. Nice. Created change 24 years ago. That's nice, Elaine. It was an internal voice, says Dawn. I had a big loss in trading my family and made me change. Jack Freeman says, I gave up the idea. Oh, it went so fast I couldn't see it. Smoking for Lucine. I feel like I lost meaning in my office job and I found a new meaning in the movement and dance. Very nice, Avram. At 50, I was out of breath during a sparring kickboxing thing. It changed my whole life. I got fit. I made a decision, Don Morale says. I left an abusive marriage. But what made you leave then? You probably were in an abusive marriage for a while. What made you leave that moment? I've been diagnosed with a chronic arthritis at 30 and was able to walk, and I changed everything, and I'm fine today. Beautiful. I saw my real value. Prayer is what triggered it. Nice. Went to an event. Nice to see that. Alcoholism. I'm really unsure. Well, you don't have to know for sure, but make a decision. What do you think it was? Believing in and loving myself. Open heart surgery is what made me finally do it. I woke up believing I deserved this life. Oh, it's gorgeous. I stopped drinking alcohol. I was waking up with a black dog and bad anxiety. I see the world more clearly now. Better decisions changed me. I lost 25 pounds due to, went too fast, couldn't read it. Divorce, it triggered and talked me to my daughter and a strategy I tried to fix. There was no fixing. I made the real change that was necessary. I died and started to exercise. But what made you do it in that moment? You knew about it before that. You got about 45 seconds. What made you change that moment? How's your life better? What was the moment that made you change? And how is your life better today than ever before because of it? Lost 50 pounds. Recovered from sexual abuse and trauma. Beautiful. Jail did it to me. Wow. Remembering my power through God. I had a stillbirth child and had to believe in something larger than myself to get through. Very nice. I moved to the country with my kids and we knew no one, so we started fresh. Nice. But again, what triggered that moment? What made you finally shift in that moment? Beautiful. 25 seconds left. And write down, how's your life better today than before because of this? And then if you're on Zoom, if you want to share, raise your hand. I'm going to call a few people. Raise down your hand. I'll call you. I'd like to hear. What was the breakthrough you had? What triggered it? Okay. How many are done? Raise your hand if you're done, or give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube so I know. Thumbs ups out there. Great, great. Okay. Let's call in a few people. Let's just reach out and grab somebody for me, and let's throw them up on the big screen here if you would. There we go. Throw them up, give them a hand. Your writing of your name is so small, it's hard to read. Is it Rama?
Rome, R-O-M-E.
Roma. Nice to see you. How are you? Where are you in the world?
Oh my God, Tony. I'm from Montreal, Canada.
Oh, it's very nice to meet you, man. Give it up for Montreal, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me, brother, what was the challenge that you put off and finally you broke through, and what triggered you that day, that moment to finally change it?
First off, it was you, so I want to say thank you to you for everything that you do, because your work impacted me in a big way. That's the first thing.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that makes me happy.
So I tried committing suicide 4 times, which is a very tough time when it did happen. And at the time when I tried committing suicide, my biggest thing was everything that could go wrong in my life was going wrong. So I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of financial stress. I was going through a breakup, no family, no friends. And it was probably the darkest time in my life where I didn't see an outlet no matter what I did. Yeah. And what helped me start to have the breakthrough was I met a therapist, and this is no shade towards therapists. I think therapists are great. But every time I saw a therapist, Tony, I would be pissed off because I'd always leave her office not feeling fixed, because I thought a therapist is supposed to help you. And I remember after my last suicide attempt, I took like 50 pills of aspirin. I think it was like half a bottle of vodka. My face swelled up, and I prayed that morning, I just don't want to wake up. I woke up that morning and I went to the pharmacy. They gave me this drug called Cipralex, was the antidepressant. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me start taking these drugs, but they weren't working. And at the time, I didn't really know, I knew who you were, but I never really like studied your work. And there was a podcast you were on one time, and you spoke about, you said something whilst I was about to take my antidepressants. You said the biggest problem that most people have is they think they're not supposed to have problems.
Yes.
And when you said that, my first thought was, wait, what did you say? So, because at the time, my mindset was, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this breakup? Why do I have these problems? Like, my mom's not here. My dad's not here. I've got no friends, no family. And then I played it back, and you said the biggest problem that most people have is they don't think they're supposed to have problems. And the second thing you said was when people have a blueprint of what they want and it doesn't match the reality of what they want, they call that depression. And I know it might sound weird, and I was telling this to a friend of mine, a therapist, like that, my depression just stopped. It was the weirdest thing. I got my pills, grabbed them, threw them in the toilet.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
So, so in that moment, I threw my pills away, and I realized that the question to the answer that I had was that was it, because I kept saying, why me? I was a victim to what was happening to me.
Yes.
And I stopped being a victim.
Yes.
And I know it might sound crazy, but I didn't have much money at the time. I was like, how am I going to pay my rent? I just put on my shoes. I went to the first gym in the area that I was in. At the time, I was dating someone, and she had kicked me out of her house. Like, I couldn't live with her no more. So it's like, where am I going to stay? So I'm literally sleeping on my friend's couch at the time, which was painful. But I said, fuck it. I'm not going to be a victim no more. I just went to the gym, signed up for a gym membership. I just started training. That's what I started to do. And the weirdest thing is that I still have challenges in my life, but I always go back to that point that the biggest problem is people think they're not supposed to have problems. And if I do have a problem, it's okay. This too shall pass. That's a belief I have. This too shall pass. And winter doesn't last forever.
Actually, brother, problems are a sign of life. Anybody doesn't have problems. Yeah. Like, I love it when somebody tells me I'm in business, I have no problems. I go, you are in trouble. Either you're an idiot or you're lying, right? Because problems are what challenge us to grow. And if we had no problems whatsoever, we wouldn't grow. Now, what we want is better quality problems, though, right? As you get stronger and smarter, better quality. But yeah, I'm so glad that reached you, Rome. That's fantastic. And so what broke you through was new insight, a new truth that superseded your old question. By the way, all of you out there, one of the things I teach, and we're not doing it here right now, but maybe we'll touch it on the third day here, see if I can put some in. The questions we ask ourselves control our focus and how we feel. So if you keep asking, what's wrong with me? Why does this always happen to me? You're going to get answers. You're an idiot, right? If you go, how come I can never lose weight? Then your brain's going to, because you're a pig, right? So if you ask a lousy question, you get a lousy answer. But if you ask a quality question, you'll get a quality answer. And so you've just changed your whole perspective. But you also did the second thing we're gonna teach this week is you got to change your what we call your physiology, the way you move, what you breathe. When you work out and you push yourself like that, there's an inner strength that you start to feel, and that changes the way your mind works as well. I'm so inspired and thrilled. I mean, this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing this with us. And Rome, I want to meet you personally, so I'm going to ask my team to invite you. You're going to come to my Unleash the Power Within seminar as my guest. I'm going to bring you up there. I'd love to meet you, man. I'll see you then, all right? God bless you. We're going to take you to the next level. I look forward to meeting you personally, brother. God bless. Oh, yes. Let's do one more real quick. One more. Bring somebody else up. Here we go. What do we got here? Looks like it's Katie. Give it up for Katie, ladies and gentlemen. Katie.
Wow.
First of all, I dig your glasses. Those are awesome.
Thank you. I've been inspired in the last year with my growth and my change.
Oh, that's beautiful. Tell me, what was the thing you struggled with, and then what did you break through on? But what was the moment? What made you break through in that moment?
So I actually did UPW with a seminar with you last year.
And, oh, wow, okay.
And the first couple days I was struggling. I was like, why am I not, I was just flatlining, a little.
Yes.
And at some point you talked about what's the worst thing that could happen if you continue in this. So my struggle was that I felt like unlikable, like I needed to people please, like I needed to perform. I worried about what everybody was thinking.
Yes.
And when you talked about where could that go, it's like, okay, well, that will lead to depression.
Yep.
That will lead to me not having a voice. And my brother took his own life in 2020. And that was the gestalt. I don't want to follow him. And so that huge moment where you had us walk through that hard time.
Yes.
And go, don't do that. Yes. And suddenly I had that breakthrough of like, no, I don't want to do that. And I changed my story from I'm not likable to I don't care if people like me.
I give her a hand for that. That's awesome. And ironically, what happens, Katie, is people like you because you like yourself, right? You exude a different energy right now. How many like this woman even though she doesn't give a shit? I think that's the coolest thing in the world. Listen, and then your glasses, are they a reflection of that? I'm curious.
Absolutely. Getting bold, being myself, absolutely taking like these little steps every step of the way, day by day, like, okay, let's test this bound. I'm just going to be myself, see what happens.
That's cool. Well, you know what? So many people are not themselves. They're trying to be something else. I mean, social media is made up of people putting filters on themselves to try to make themselves be something they're not. That when you have somebody themselves, when someone is authentic, it's so rare. I mean, everything's bullshit. Reality television is bullshit. They script it, right? It's like, so you meet something real, that usually creates likability for anybody who's got a heart. And that's who you'd want to connect with anyway, not somebody who's a jerk who doesn't care. So, that makes me so happy. What she's describing is at the seminar, we do this process. It's pretty intense because we do it through 4 days, but it's called the Dickens process. So if you know the story of Scrooge, he didn't want to change. He wasn't about to change. But if you get your brain to the point where it's called leverage, where change becomes a must, not another day, another moment, that pain gets you to break through, and then you had a whole new set of beliefs, right? This is not what I want. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to be. That's fantastic. Well, thank you. Congratulations. Give her a giant hand, ladies and gentlemen. That's really beautiful. Give her a hand.
Thank you.
There's so much out there about mental health these days. And, so many people think they talk about self-care all the time. And sure, you should take care of yourself, but you got to grow. Just comforting yourself is not enough. Growth is what will get you out of stress. If you don't grow, then you're just going to get weaker and weaker by self-care. No, don't get me wrong, take care of yourself, but our society has more about mental health because we aren't doing the things that actually make us stronger, right? When you get weaker, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder. How many know what I'm talking about? Know it's true out there, ladies and gentlemen, right? So how many of you, well, let me give you this. I spent a lifetime doing this to take complex things and make them simple. In the beginning of my career, I tried to make things as detailed and complex as I could. I think to prove to myself how smart I was, how stupid is that, or to prove it to other people. I don't know which, probably both. But what I found is simplicity has power. In fact, if you want to write down an important phrase, think about this. You know, when you think about something that is complex, complexity is the enemy of execution. Jot it down. Complexity is the enemy of execution. The more complex you make something, the harder it is to get people to do it. So I'm going to show you right now the essence, and you tell me if it's true, because you can look at your own life. When you had a breakthrough, most of you, how many of you out there, when you had a breakthrough, it was triggered by pain? Raise your hand, make some noise, or give me a thumbs up if pain was the trigger for you. Let me see it, show hands. And you'll see it, and that's about, from visually, roughly about 90%. How many of you, what triggered you to change was excitement, like a new option? You saw something that you saw was possible. Raise your hand if that was it. And so it's about 5 or 10%. So most people use pain to do it, and they have to get enough pain that they finally handle the situation. Like, you ever been in a how many of you have ever been in a relationship way too long? Who's ever done this before, right? It's like, you know it's right. It's not right for you. It's not right for them, but you stay. Why do you stay? Because you'd rather deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't know being alone, right? But some of you got to a point one day where your brain said another day, not another hour, not another moment. It was painful in the past. It's painful in the present. It's going to be painful. I'm out of here. And you got free. So pain can be leveraged, but so can pleasure. But I'm going to give you the 3 keys to creating a breakthrough real fast, because if you want to create a breakthrough in your body, in your relationship, in your finances, in your company, I don't care where it is, I'm going to simplify it to these 3 things. And they all start with an S, 3 S's. Now I'm going to give them to you in reverse order of importance. Why? Because most people put them in the wrong order. Now, why does that matter? Well, if you know a person's phone number and you dial it in the wrong order, you don't reach them. If you know the right code to open a vault, but you put the numbers in the wrong sequence, you don't reach them. There is a sequence that will get you to a breakthrough 10 times faster, and most people don't do it. That's why most people don't break through. So I'll start with the 3rd S. It's the last one. So if you're going SSS, it'd be the one to the far right, but that's where people start. And the first S, when people are looking to have a breakthrough, what do most people do? If they're overweight, what do they think? Well, okay, I'm going to change. How is the question? They look for a strategy. That's what the S stands for. They look for the right strategy. Now that makes common sense. You're not getting results in your body, in your relationship. You think, I should go figure out the right strategy. Let me go figure out how to do it. The only problem is that strategy might be the problem, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time, let's take being overweight. 70% of Americans are overweight. It's the most overweight country in the history of the world, and unfortunately, we're infecting the rest of the world with our habits, and many other countries are starting to follow us in this area. Now, are people overweight because the strategy for being fit and strong is so complex that only the most intelligent people on earth can figure this shit out, right? No. The strategy for being fit and strong is so complex that only the most intelligent people on earth can figure this shit out, right? No. Is it because the strategy is so expensive that only the 1% can afford it? No, right? In fact, the strategy on how to get fit and strong is available where? Everywhere. You have to avoid it, right? It's on the internet. It's everywhere. You can download 10 books on it right now on your phone. You could see courses. Listen, if you don't want to go to a club, God forbid you would go someplace and work out, you could hire a trainer that comes to your home, right? You go, I can't afford that. Well, then you could go for a run. I mean, there's a million things to do. So it's not a strategy problem. It's a psychological problem, and that's why there's a second S that needs to be handled first, and that is the real problem is the story you have. What keeps people from breaking through is they have a story about why they can't break through. It's because I was abused as a child. It's because I'm too old. It's because I'm too young. It's because you don't understand what I've been through, right? If they haven't lost weight, they'll say, I've tried everything. And I'll say, everything? Yes, I've tried everything. Tell me, how many things? I've tried, I don't know, I've tried hundreds of things. Name them. Well, I've tried dozens of things. Name them. They'll go, well, I did do these 2 things that don't work over and over again, right? So if you do what doesn't work over and over again, it doesn't change, right? But the problem is your story keeps you from finding the strategy. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes people have the wrong strategy for being fit and healthy. I remember, I think it was 15 years ago, on the cover of Time magazine, they said, I think it was 14% of Americans were on the Atkins diet, where you ate just massive amounts of protein, you had a pea on a stick. I mean, it doesn't take too long to figure out that if you got a pea on a stick and your breath is gonna smell that bad, this is not a sustainable solution, but it made you pee really a lot, you lost a lot of water weight, you had less calories, and so people lost weight, but they couldn't sustain it, right? So it wasn't a great strategy. But the point is, have you ever tried to help somebody go, oh, I've tried that? Well, how many times? How many different ways? Which specific example? The story stops them. If you don't have the relationship you want, people say, well, all the good ones are gone, right? Or they're gay and I'm not, or I'm gay and they're not, or whatever, right? People come up with a story. What is a story? It's just a set of beliefs you tell yourself over and over and over again. You know, there's an old phrase that says, if you tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and often enough, sooner or later people believe you. Who said that? Goebbels. Goebbels worked for Hitler. That was the strategy. He told everybody this big lie until people believed it. It's insane. Now, most of us are Hitler to ourselves. We lie to ourselves, so we never find the strategy, or even if the strategy is right in front of us, we don't act on the strategy. How many can relate to this in some way? Make some noise if you can relate to it, makes sense to you, okay? But here's what's really interesting. You're Tony, but how do I change my story? You start with the right sequence, and the first thing that creates change is changing your state. We've alluded to that here. I had you do it with your energy, with your body. Your state is your mental, emotional state. I'll give you an example so you understand. Have you ever been pissed off at somebody, really angry with somebody, and then suddenly you can remember everything they've ever done that pissed you off? Raise your hand, make some noise if you've ever done this. You know what I'm talking about. Or if you're in love, when you're totally head over heels in love, do me a favor, just right now, raise your hand if you've been ever totally head over heels in love. Make some noise if you've been there. Just for a second, do something silly. Make the sound of being totally in love. Go ahead. For some of you, I can see it's been a long time, okay? So try another one. Make the sound of being in love and in lust. You want to be with this person every moment. You're turned up. Come on, make that sound. All right, that had more energy to it, lasted longer. That's a good start, okay? So when you're in love with somebody, what will you do for them? What will you do? Anything, right? Isn't it true? Anything. In fact, when you're in love with somebody, what's wrong with life? Nothing. We're in love. We don't have any money. It doesn't matter. We're in love. Right? Who can relate here? Who's had this experience? Make some noise. Come on. Thumbs up if you have, all right? So when you're in the right state, your brain comes up with the right story, and then you will find a strategy or you will make the strategy. You'll either find the way or make the way. But if you're not in the right state, nothing changes. So, for example, I'll give you just a simple example. What if you're with somebody and they do this? Watch me. They go, all right, yeah, I know. I need to lose weight. I'm tired of wearing my fat pants. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on a diet, and I'm going to work out, and I'm going to change my life. Is it going to happen? Yes or no? Come on, give me some feedback. Yes or no? Come on. No way. How do you know? Because they're not in the right what? State, right? So if you want to create a breakthrough, it starts with state. That's why I'm doing this stuff where you're moving your body, clapping. It's not about rah-rah. I'm not into that crap. I'm into changing biochemistry. And when we got 10, 20,000 people in the stadium and you see it, you go, oh, he's motivating them. I'm not into motivation. Look, listen to me. If you're fat, you're motivated to eat. Let's be honest. That's how it works, right? So I'm not looking to motivate you. I'm looking to find the drive that's inside you that'll change your life, and we need energy for that. So we use energy. Otherwise, how would you go 12 hours a day for 4 days? Most people go, I could never do that. Or we do digitally. People all around the world are doing it, every time zone. And we lose less than 4% of the people in 4 days. And there are people, for example, in Australia, some of them are on right now, We start at 10 in the morning here, it's midnight there. And they go from midnight till noon the next day, go for 12 hours. But it's a rock and roll show. There's like, you have more energy. Like, how long's a long time? Well, when you're enjoying yourself, who's experienced time just flying, like you didn't know where the time went, right? When you hate what's going on, a minute feels like eternity, so we make that happen. Now, by the way, your body can change that state faster than anything. You can change what you focus on, that'll change your state, but the other thing is your body. In fact, I've been teaching this for decades. I taught the greatest athletes in the world. Behind me over here, I have 6 different world championship rings from NBA championship teams, baseball teams, NHL hockey. These are all teams that I have turned the teams around, and they gave me one too, and now I'm an owner in several of those teams, to give you an idea. That came from the ability to change their states, then change their story, and then get the right strategy. That's how you break through. So there was a study done about 5 years ago at Harvard that came out and proved what I did, as if I didn't know after 35 years already doing it, right? I mean, this, to give you an idea, I'm starting my 49th year doing this. That's incredible. It blows my mind, right? Clearly, I started when I was 2, right? Right? Hey, stop that, right? So bottom line is, they did this study, and it was called power postures. And what they found is, well, let's try it. Stand up for a second, if you would. Stand up just for a moment. I'll show you what they did. Let's the camera adjust. And what they found is, if you put your shoulders back, you stand tall, and put both your hands on your hips like this, like Superman or Wonder Woman or something like that. If you just stand like this for 2 minutes and keep breathing, some of you stop breathing, breathe fully, shoulders back, hands on your hips, and this is what happens. If you keep breathing nice and strong, within 2 minutes, your testosterone increases 20%. Whether you're a man or woman doesn't matter. And your stress hormone, cortisol, drops 25%, which means you're willing to take a risk increases almost by a third, 33%. Now, I don't have people stand around and walk like this. I add movement and sound. So right now, when you're standing like this, make a sound that makes you feel incredibly strong. Make a movement that makes you feel strong. Make a movement and the sound while you're standing up. Feel that. Make that sound louder and stronger. Get it in your body. That's it, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. That's it. Whoa. Yes. How many can feel the difference in your body right now? Make some noise if you can feel it. Okay, take a seat. But when you have a seat now, don't sit and collapse. Sit strong, like you're sitting up in the command chair of your life, okay? So if you want to create a breakthrough, you got to change your state first in your body. You want to change your relationship. Go in your relationship in this broken state saying, I want to talk about stuff. That's not going to happen. But if you're in a strong state and you're feeling strong and you've got a new story that says, hey, I can do this, I'm going to make this happen, or whatever the right story is, then you figure out the strategy and you'll turn it around. I don't care what it is. Now, we're almost out of time, and I want to give you a final exercise here that is really simple and very powerful. I use this all the time, and if I never see you again, this is something you could do for yourself. And then I'm going to give you an assignment, and I'm going to give a little gift to a couple people because I was reading people online that I was just moved by. So we're going to have gifts at the end of the day for those that stay the whole time. One of the gifts, by the way, is going to be a trip to Fiji, to my resort there for 5 days, right? So we got some cool stuff. Each day we're going to do those, and we're going to do it based on your homework. We're going to look at your homework and see what people say. I got a team that's looking at it. I'll be doing it as well. But so this last little exercise, really important one. I'm going to spend a little time on this. How many of you ever get stuck? Like where it's like you just can't break through in your relationship, or you just can't break through with your kid, or you get stuck on, I can't turn my finances around, or you get stuck pissed off, or stuck depressed, or who's ever felt massively stuck? Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about. Now, when people get stuck, they get stuck because they're not using their whole nervous system. You're not using every part of yourself. You've limited parts. So for example, if people get stuck very often because they get stuck thinking about something that happened in the past, well, you can't change the past. You're trying to focus on the past and drive into the future. That's like driving forward using a rear view mirror. You're going to crash, right? It's not going to work. Or some people get stuck thinking about the future so much. Or some people get stuck in this moment like, oh my God, this is horrible. It's always going to be horrible. If you can move from past, present, and future back and forth, you won't get stuck. Another way people get stuck, they get stuck in a mode. Like some people get stuck saying something to themselves over and oh my God, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe this happened. Some people get stuck in a feeling. Some people get stuck in an image. Oh, I just can't get it out of my head. But if you use all three, if you can move from your feelings to sounds to visions, you'll get unstuck. Some people get stuck in a belief system. There's so many ways to get stuck. But if you want to get unstuck, we need to use more of ourselves. So one of the things I've done this with some of the greatest athletes in the world. I've done this with billionaire business people, because no matter how successful you are, people call me for one of two reasons. Either they're the best in the world and they just are looking for the next edge, because they know if I'm doing great, but if I can make just a 3, 5, 8 degree change, and I take that out a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, I have a totally different destination. I have a totally different destiny. I have a totally different impact. So people that are the best in the world are hungry. And by the way, if I give you a sincere compliment to all of you here, I honor you, because even if you pay for this, you still showed up, you're here. That means you're hungry. People ask me every day of my life, Tony, you travel the whole earth. You meet the most successful people on earth. What's the most common trait of the most successful people on earth? And early in my career, I thought it was intelligence, because I value wicked intelligence. I love wickedly smart people. But how many of you know somebody who's very smart in one area, but they can't fight their way out of a paper bag in their business or their finances or their kids? Who can relate here? Make some noise if you know. So smart's important, but what's more important is hunger. The most successful people on earth have one thing in common. They have an immense hunger that doesn't go away. See, most people got hungry to get to a goal, and then they achieve it, and then they're bored, and they drop out. I'm talking about a different kind of hunger. I'm talking about hunger that an Oprah has, or Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson. He's as hungry today in his 70s as when he was 16 and he started Virgin in a cemetery, and he was hungry to get going. He's that same hunger. People that are hungry have power. So if you have nothing else but hunger, what we're going to show you the next 3 days can change anything, because hunger will get you to keep growing. I'm talking about hunger to be more, to do more, to give more, to create more, to experience more. How many have that hunger out there, ladies and gentlemen? Make some noise, you got it? And the fact that you're here with me for a few hours, keep that hunger going throughout these 3 days. I promise you great fulfillment. So what are we going to do here? I'm going to show you a way to break out of getting stuck that you can use on your own. At first, it might feel a little weird. So let me give you an example. I worked with a UFC professional, a fighter, and he was number one in the world. Then he went down and lost a ton. And then he got really angry because he lost and he's doing stupid things. And so he wanted to do a turnaround. So they called me and said, I only work with you if you stop drinking, because drinking is not going to change. And I said, no, I'll help you. And so then I sat down with him and I said, this is what we're going to do. You, out of your anger, are just using one part of your brain and it's overpowering the rest. And that's why you're not doing so well. This guy used to have this, people talked about it, he could almost anticipate a punch. It was like magical. He could see it before it happened. It made him a champion in multiple weight belt levels. And so the bottom line is, I said, here's what we're going to do. There are different parts of you. There's a warrior in you. The warrior, in fact, why don't we just do it? Why don't you stand up and I'll walk you through it. Let's do it physically. So rather than telling you, we'll do it together, okay? So shake your body out, and make a move that makes you feel strong. Make a move. Make a sound that makes you feel strong. Make it again. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. That's awesome. Now, stand nice and tall and strong, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to find, I know it sounds weird at first, but if you do it with me, you'll see it really works. How many of you realize that you have more than one personality? In other words, how many of you have a part of yourself that if you let it, it would make you be a victim and let you feel sorry for yourself? How many got a part that could feel sorry for yourself if you let it? How many of you got a part of yourself that will kick ass and take names when it's in charge and won't stop? Make some noise. Okay? So when I first met my wife, Sage, I'd be talking to her and then suddenly there'd be a different woman there and then a different woman. And I'd be like, is this the same woman? So I started giving them names because I realized she has like 167 personalities, right? So you may hear me call her Sage or Bonnie Pearl. Those are different parts of her when I call her. There's some other names I'm not going to share with you that I thoroughly enjoy. We won't mention those, okay? So how many think you might have more than one personality inside you there, ladies and gentlemen? Of course you do. But for simplicity's sake, as humans, we try to act like we're one person. By the way, have you ever been with somebody and then somebody says, John, that's not John. That's not like John. That's just another part of John that came out that day you've never seen before, right? I want us to look at 4 parts of our personality, and I'm going to give them archetypes, okay? The first one is the warrior. And what we're going to do is we're going to find that part of you in a moment. I'm going to ask you to think, I'm going to describe what the warrior is, When I'm describing it, I'm going to ask you to touch where in your body you think that warrior lived, and just trust your first instinct. It's not intellectual. Just go with your gut. And then we're going to do some things. I'm going to say, okay, what's the color do you associate warrior? What shape? I'll ask you to make a sound. Now that sounds weird, but I'm going to ask you to make the sound of the warrior. You're going to make it as loud as you can while you touch that part. What that'll do is activate that part of your brain, your nervous system, the part that maybe you're not using right now, right? So in this guy's case, for example, I had him come up with his warrior, had him do this. He makes this intense sound, color shape, boom, his warrior's there, right? And then while you're in that state, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say, while you stay in the warrior, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say, finish this sentence. The warrior says, all I need to do in that situation, all I need to remember, all I need to do is focus on is what? So I want you to think of something that you need to change so we can use this, so it's not just random. Raise your hand if you can think of some area of your life where right now maybe you're a little stuck or you need to make a change, or maybe you're avoiding it because it's stressful to even think about it. You're doing other stuff right now. How many got something in your life I call unfinished business? Unfinished business means something you need to do, but you're not doing it because you're busy. Who can relate? Raise your hand if you got thumbs up if you're on YouTube so I know if you got it, right? Okay. So think of that situation and think of it on like on a 0 to 10 scale. If you really focused on it, how stressed it would make you. And pick something that ideally makes you at least a 7, 8, 9, or 10 if you focused on it. Most of us don't even focus on it because we don't go there. But think of that 7, 8, 9, or 10 in your mind. Raise your hand if you can think of something that if you really focused on it, you're not dealing with it, it'd be a 7, 8, 9, or 10 in stress. Give me a thumbs up. Raise your hand if you got something like that. Or just anything you want to change. So we're going to use that as what we're going to ask questions of. So I did this with this athlete, right, with this UFC fighter, the warrior. And he says, the warrior says this, the warrior says that. And I then had him write it down. Then I got him back up. And the second one is called the magician. And in his case, I said, what does the magician say? So he gave the sound, the magician, shape, all that stuff. Now that part of him is alive. And then the magician told him something totally different than the warrior. And it was something he'd been missing in his fighting. Because he was so angry, his warrior was overworked. His magician, who could anticipate things, was missing. Then I find the lover in him, and the lover gave him some other feedback. And it's a different part of him and a different experience. And he realized he used to love fighting. He used to love his team. He used to love training. He wasn't loving anything, and he brought the love back to life. And then we're going to go to your sovereign, or the king and queen within you, the wise one, the one that knows more than any other part of you, the one that's truly in charge, the one that isn't fearful. And so we're going to do those four, and you're going to find really interesting. So I'm going to have you do each one, and then I'm going to ask you to type the first thoughts that come in your head. After you do it, I'll tell you when to type it so we can see it on the screen, and we'll share it, but I want you to feel the difference, okay? So, and by the way, he went out and won his next fight in 22 seconds. In the first 5 seconds, some guy elbowed him. It looked like he was going to be knocked out. I'm sitting right beside him, and then his brain, the magician in him, saw it, and boom, came up in an uppercut and ended the fight in 22 seconds. It was because that part of him was alive instead of just one part. How many of this makes general sense, at least at this point? Let's take it from general sense to an experience, okay? So shake your body out, and then I want you to think of the warrior. Now, what is the warrior part of you? The warrior part of you is the part of you that will not be defeated. The warrior part of you knows that you are more than anything that could ever happen to you. The warrior will fight its way through. The warrior will not give up. The warrior will push through, will fight through. The warrior has a level of intensity that's incredibly strong. How many of you have a warrior somewhere inside you? Make some noise if you've got a warrior inside you. I want you to close your eyes and touch the part of your body where the warrior lives for you, wherever that is. Where does the warrior live for you? That's it. Touch it, feel the warrior in you. And as you're touching that warrior and feeling that warrior inside, I want you to tell me, what's the color you associate to the warrior? What's the color you associate? Just say it out loud, whatever it is. What's the color? That's it. What's the shape you associate to your warrior? If there was a shape, what shape do you associate to it? Good. And now I want you as loud as you can to make the sound of the warrior with total intensity. Ready? Go, make the sound of the warrior. Do it again, the sound of the warrior. The sound of the warrior, stronger. One more time, the sound of the warrior. That's it. Now, keep touching, keep feeling your warrior, keep feeling your warrior. And I want you to finish this phrase out loud. While you feel your warrior, say, the warrior says to me, all you need to focus on All you need to do, all you need to remember is what? Finish this phrase out loud. The warrior says to me, all I need to focus on, all you need to remember in that situation, all I really need to do is what? And say out loud what the warrior says. That's it. Feel your warrior again. Make the sound of your warrior again. Make the sound of your warrior again. Feel your warrior and finish this phrase again. Another thing your warrior says. Another thing your warrior says. All I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all you need to do is what in that situation? My warrior says, all I need to remember, all you need to focus on. Say it out loud. All you need to do is what? Just finish that phrase from your warrior. One more time. The warrior says, all you need to remember, all you need to focus on, all you need to do is what in that situation? Say it out loud. Say it out loud. Okay? Open your eyes and type it in the chat. What did your warrior say? What did your warrior say? Compete. Express what you want. Fight. All you need is trust in God. Keep going. Focus on God. Get strong. I am here for you. Serve. Step up. Push through. Never give up. I am the one with the one. I'm capable. I am power. Don't stop. Commit. Believe in yourself. Keep moving forward. Stand your ground. Be present. Discipline. Drive. Fight. Yes, Jesus has you. Focus. Resilience. Finish. Make it all. Overcome. Keep it going. Let go. Move forward. Amen. Fight. I got this. You've got this. We've got it together. That's it. Make it your best. That's it. The next step. I salute you. Stop the excuses. Good. Oh, yes. Take action. Fight. Powerful. Myself. Feel it. Awesome. Give your warrior some thanks inside. Make the sound of your warrior as you feel a sense of thanks. All right? How many of you, raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Raise your hand if you got great advice from your warrior, something that would really feel strong, feels useful to deal with. Awesome. All right? Make your move. Get strong. Make your move. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now, I want you to breathe. I want to tell you about your magician, and then you're going to point to where your magician is. The magician is the part of you that is very different than the warrior. It's the part of you that knows the answer. It's the part of you, it's like the part of you that has a smile inside because it knows everything's based on perception. The magician knows it can snap its fingers and turn a frog into a prince or a prince into a frog. They know, the magician knows it's a game. The magician has this wise little smile and little giggle inside because he knows he can change it all in a second. He doesn't have to work so hard to do it, or she does. The magician can make anything happen, and they know it. There's no stress in the magician at all. The magician just flows. Who's ever felt your magician come through you like where you were doing something and it was effortless, and you don't even know how you did it, you just went, that was cool, I'm impressed? Who's ever had that part of you flow? Okay? So I want you to take your hand, close your eyes, and touch where your magician lives inside you. Just touch the part. Trust your first instinct where your magician, that's it. And then what color do you associate to your magician? What shape do you associate to your magician? That's it. And then your magician has a very different sound. Make the sound of your magician nice and loud, but make the sound your magician. Go ahead. Do it out loud. Don't think it. Otherwise, it won't activate your body. Do it out loud. The sound of your magician. Touch your magician. Feel the shape. Feel the texture of magician. Is it rough or smooth? Feel it. Feel the color. Good, good, good. Touch it. Make the sound of your magician again. That's it. Very different, isn't it? Make the sound of your magician again. That's it. Now, while you're feeling your magician, say this out loud. My magician says, in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to do, all I need to remember is what? My magician says, say it out loud. My magician says, in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all I really need to do is what? Do it again. My magician says, in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all I need to do is what? That's it. That's it. Now touch your magician again Feel your magician. Make the sound of your magician again. Make the sound of your magician again. That's it. Make the sound. That's it. That's it. Do it again. Make the sound of it. Then say, my magician also says. What else does your magician say? My magician also says, all you need to remember, all you need to focus on, all you need to do is what? That's it. That's it. All right. Open your eyes and type in the chat box. What did your magician tell you? What did it tell you? It says, believe in yourself, relax, breathe, believe and trust, let go. It's done. We are connected to our Creator. Surrender. I can. Make it a game. Write a plan. Believe, trust. Trust my inner light. I will guide you. It's a matter of time. Start now. Lead with love and be kind. Surrender. You were born for this. Have faith. It's done. Love. Make it fun. Help people. Life is perfect. Tap into the unseen. Work hard, but trust. Trust others. Take action. Believe. Keep going. You can't lose. God and faith have you. Action. Trust the process. I'm in charge. No problem. We have the power. That's it. The divine has you. I'm in charge again. Believe in myself, believe in God, believe in yourself. Create, keep going, play, have fun, get out of the way, let it flow, trust yourself. God is faithful, you are faithful. I can do this, we've got this. Look, take a moment to breathe, have faith, create, breathe, man, have fun with it. That's awesome. Raise your hand if you got some great feedback from your magician that'd be really helpful in a different way. Make some noise if you got your magician. Make the sound of your magician and thank your magician. Make the sound of it and kind of thank your magician for a moment. All right? All right, now, shake your body out again. Different state. Make your move. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. All right, now we're going to go to your lover. The part of you that is filled with love, not the part of you trying to get love, the part of you that already is love. The part of you that isn't fearful because love is the answer. Corny as it sounds, it makes me emotional. Think about it. All the problems of humankind, all of them come from one thing, selfishness. And they all can be solved with one thing, love. Sounds like an oversimplification, but I know it's true. I think you do too. Because from love, you make the right choices. From love, you're not trying to get, you're wanting to give. So I want you to find the lover in you. Close your eyes and touch where the lover in you lives. And breathe deep into your lover. Feel that part of you awakened and alive. That's it. Enjoy it. Feel that lover fully awake, fully alive. What color do you associate to your lover? Say it out loud. What shape do you associate to your lover? That's it. What texture do you associate to your lover? Smooth or rough? What's it like? And then as you touch that part of you that's your lover, I want you to make the sound of your lover. Make the sound of your lover. Do it out loud. Don't hold it back. The sound of your lover. Go. It's a different sound, isn't it? That's it. Good. Touch that part. Make the sound of your lover. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Beautiful. Do it again. Make the sound of your lover as you touch that part. Make the sound of your lover. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, say, the lover says to me, all you need to remember in that situation, all you need to focus on, all you really need to do is what? Say it out loud. The lover says to me, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on in that situation, all I really need to do is what? Feel the lover. The lover also says, all I need to remember. The lover also says, all I need to remember, all I need to do, all I need to focus on in that situation is what? Make the sound of your lover, this time make the sound of your lover louder and really enjoy the feeling. Make the sound of your lover a little louder and enjoy the feeling. That's it. And one more time, the lover says, also the lover says, all you need to remember, all you need to focus on, All you need to do is what? That's it. That's it. Then open your eyes and write down what your lover told you. Relax and trust. Breathe. You are enough. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. I am good. Smile. Open. Do what's right. Jesus. Love, love, love. God. Trust and surrender. My love is enough. Believe in God. Share. Trust. Hope. Feel it. Be open. You are enough. Open your heart. Be yourself. No matter what. Religion, dance, let go. Be kind to yourself. Trust. Love is the solution. My lover's in charge. You are. I am capable. Remember, the inner love reflects. Be compassionate. I've got you. You're loved. Take in the good. You are worthy. Being yourself with others is more than you know. Be present. Respect yourself. I am more. We are worthy. Pink heart. Befriend yourself. Let the love flow. I am blessed. How many got some beautiful feedback from your lover? Make some noise if you got it. Give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Got some great coaching from your lover. Okay? All right, let's do one more. Shake your body out. Make your move. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. That's it. Now we want to find really your sovereign, the king or queen within you, the one that has wisdom beyond your years, the one that can anticipate the future. It knows the past, but it doesn't live there. The one that's learned from so much in your lifetime, both the failures and the successes. And the part of you that knows that you might lose the battle, but you're never going to lose the war. And you won't even lose the battle because you'll learn from it. The king, the queen, the sovereign in you, the wise one, the one who doesn't get stressed because they know the game of life is a big game, it's a long game, and they know it's already won inside. There's wisdom, there's strength in your king or your queen or your sovereign. So I'd like you now just to close your eyes and reach out and figure out, where does your king live in you, or your queen or your sovereign? Touch that part of yourself. Feel that part. Feel the king, the queen, or the sovereign in you. Breathe into your king or queen. Breathe into your sovereign. Feel their strength. Feel their wisdom. Feel their power. Feel their certainty. Nothing knocks them off. They know. They know what will be. Things may change moment to moment, but they know the long term what will happen. They trust because they've lived it. Now, what shape do you associate to your king? What color do you associate to your king? What's the texture of your king? And now, make the sound of your king. Go ahead, out loud, make the sound of your king as you touch that. That's it. Make the sound of your king. That's it. Do it again. Make the sound of your king, your sovereign, your queen, the one inside. That's right. Feel that. Now, as you touch that part of you, that king, that queen, that sovereign, finish the phrase. My king, my queen, my sovereign says, all I need to remember in that situation, all I need to focus on, all I really need to do is what? All I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? Your king, your queen, your sovereign knows. Ask it again. Make the sound of your king again strong, or your queen, your sovereign. Make it again. Touch the area, make the sound. And say, my king, my queen also says. My king, queen, or sovereign also says, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? Feel the answers coming through. Hear them. Take them in. And know that they are real. Open your eyes and write down what your king says. You are royalty. Pray and grow with God. Trust thyself. Take action. Rebuild. Create that sense of purpose. Shine your light. The power is within. I've changed. Be patient. Take one day at a time. You are strong. You are enough. You are the king or queen within. You are worthy. I have the answers for you. I'm always here. Trust. Ask for my help. power is within you. Never give up. You are strong. Feel the sovereign within. I am here. The power is here. We are the authentic authority. I've got you. I am the hero. I am you. This is it. Now is our time. Create certainty. Execute. Rise higher. Keep going. We are divine. I am here. Be patient. Change your story. I am that I am. Conquer. Conquer your fear. Move forward. Resilience is our word. I'm already done. It's done. Be fearless. Step up. This is our time. Be victorious. Don't wait. I am your leader. Listen, I'll guide you. Every fall is a lesson. Step up. Create now. How many of you thumbs up or make noise? How many got great feedback from your king or queen or your sovereign, ladies and gentlemen? That's awesome. Now, how many got more than enough answers to solve your issue that you wrote down or you thought of earlier? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you got the answers you need. But it can get even better than that. What I want you to do also now is, let's do one last thing. Find your warrior again. Touch your warrior. Make the sound of your warrior as loud as you can. Go the sound of your warrior. Do it again, the sound of your warrior. One more time, the sound of your warrior. That's it. Now, what does the warrior say or ask of your king? What does your warrior tell or ask of your king? Say, the warrior says to my king or queen, my sovereign, what do they say? And what does the king or queen or sovereign say back to your warrior? What does the warrior promise your king or queen or sovereign? And what does your king or queen or sovereign promise to the warrior? I see some smiles on your faces. That's a good sign. Jot it down. Go ahead and jot it down. What does it say? You are guided. We will work together. Lead me. You already know the answer. I'll always be with you. You can count on me. We're more than enough. Amen. We can do this. You've got me. I'm unstoppable. I will serve you. It's done. Be wise. Be fit. This is it. This is the time. We are love. Believe in me. I love you. You have my permission. Step up. Okay. Now, come back. Find your magician. Find your magician wherever your magician lives. Touch that area. Remember the color. Close your eyes. Make the sound of your magician. Go ahead. Sound of your magician now. Different sound. That's it. Do it again. Nice. One more time. Sound of your magician. Now, speak out loud. My magician says to my king or queen, to my higher self, my magician promises what? To my sovereign, my queen, my king. Say it out loud. My magician says or promises what? And now my king or queen or my king, my sovereign says what to my magician? What does it say to the magician? Nice. Type it down. What do they say? Give me permission. I love this. The universe provides. We'll work magic together. I'll show you the way. I'll protect you. Trust us. I'm allowed. We can do it. You've got this. Breathe and be kind. You are powerful. You can do it. Execute. All of this is the wonder of life. I will guide you. You are in control. I'll do it. We'll do it together. Magician says, use me as you want. I know the way. Transformation's already happening. I'll find the way. I believe you. We'll work together. Let us play. That's the magician. That's beautiful. How many got some great feedback between the two of them for each other? Make some noise if you got that too. Awesome. All right. Find your lover. Make your move first. Make your move. Make a change. Make your move. Make your move. Make your move. All right. Now go to your lover. Where's your lover? Touch your lover. Breathe into your lover. And now, the lover says what to my sovereign, to my queen, to my king? My lover says what? Say it out loud. My lover says what? Promises what? Asks what of my king or queen or sovereign? And my sovereign, my queen, my king says back to my lover what? My lover says, promises, asks what of my king, queen, or sovereign? And my sovereign, my queen, my king says what back to my lover? Open your eyes and jot it down. Be gentle. Love lifts us. Follow your heart. Be of service. Keep going. Let's be happy. We deserve it. Be kind to yourself. Never look back. You are peace. Choose. Trust the process. I'll love you. I'll be here for you. Keep going. You lead with heart. You will find your queen. Share your gifts. You are love. You are grounded. Share this. All the love you need is inside. Love guides us. Your heart is strong. Trust. Love me. You are loved. You will learn from the mistakes. Always do what's right. Always do the good. Be kind. There is no fear. Send love. It will break through any limitation. I love myself. There is enough for everyone. How many got great advice between these two, between the lover and the sovereign? Great. Make your move. Make your move. Make your move. Make your move. All right, now find your sovereign. Find your king or queen. Make the sound of your king or your queen or your sovereign. Go, make the sound. Make the sound. Make the sound. And now have your king address any one of them or all three of them. My king, my queen, my sovereign says to the warrior or to the magician or to the lover, all three. What do they say to your sovereign says to all three or them individually? And feel them connecting. And then ask the king to ask them if they'll all come to one place to meet, perhaps in your heart, wherever you choose. Find one place where they all come together. Touch that place where they're all going to come together from now on to work together. And make the sound of all of them working together. Whatever sound comes to you, all of them in unison working together. Make a sound. Touch that part. Make a sound. And what can you achieve with all of them working together? What can you achieve? What can you break through? What could you solve? What could you make happen? With all of them working together, what could you make happen? What could you transform? What could you change? What could you achieve? What could you enjoy? Open your eyes and write down what they can all accomplish together or what your king or queen said to them. We can achieve anything. The shield is formed. We are awake. We are aware. Create a life of meaning. Take over. Nothing's impossible. Greatness awaits. Success. We are one. Never give up. I trust you. There's no more fear. Nothing's impossible. Help others. Step up. Anything. You can fix it. Take over with love. Anything and everything. We are together. We are one. All for one and one for all. Forgive them. We will live. You are in this. We're in this together. I give you my all. Time to rise. Good. Get loved together. This is our time. God is with us all. God is with us. You will be happy. Houston, it's liftoff. You're not alone. It's divine. Celebrate the union of all of them together. Create that energy in your body and celebrate that like you're achieving at the highest level there, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, make some noise. Stuck, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now stay standing, shake your body out, and close your eyes. And let's integrate this in another way. What I want you to do now is, I'm going to give you a homework assignment where we're going to experience it first, and you can write it later on or make a video of it later on, post that on Facebook if you like. But for right now, all I want you to think about is our lives are controlled by our beliefs that we've told ourselves over and over again, sometimes come together to form a story. And if we have limitations, it's a story of limitations stopping us. It's not our God-given ability that's shut down. It's just a belief. A belief is nothing but a feeling of certainty about something. How many of you can think of a belief that you had years ago that you would have fought for, that a year, a decade, 2 decades later, you're almost embarrassed you believe that crap? Raise your hand if you have something you used to believe in, now it's bullshit. So maybe it's time to see what our old story is and create maybe a new story for our lives. So here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes, and with your eyes closed, I want you to think about what has been your old story. It was a story about a person that struggled with what, that wanted what, desired what, but was frustrated or stopped by what. Story of, what was the role you played in the story? Were you the pawn? Were you the victim? Were you the victor? Were you the comedian? Were you the pleaser? Were you the sad one, the happy one? What was the old story of your life when you're frustrated at times, you didn't push through? What would you tell yourself about life, about yourself? What did you believe in your old story? In the old story, when you were limited at various times in your relationship or in your finances or because of all the things that have happened to you, what if you had a new belief that life doesn't happen to us, it always happens for us? Can you think of something that happened a decade or 2 ago, years ago, that was so horrible you'd never want to experience it again? But then years later you look back on it and go, I'd never want to experience it again, but I'm grateful I did. I see the universe's power because it made me more grateful, or made me stronger, it made me care more. How many have had an experience like that? If you had, make some noise if you know what I'm talking about. What if your new belief is life is always happening for me? It's hard to find it sometimes, but if I keep looking, I will find there's a gift in this. But go to your old story first. Your old story was, I can't do it because who's in the way, what's in the way? What emotions did your old story have? Was it frustration? Was it sadness? Was it overwhelm? Was it depression? Was it stress? Was it anger? So my old story was about a person that wanted what, but felt what, and was frustrated by what, and was stopped by what, and played what role? You know, was I a victim? Was I paddling water? Was I surviving? Was I succeeding? Was I going? What was the primary emotion? What was the primary role you played? What were the primary beliefs that kept you there? And your old story. Now that's an old story. What if you were the writer, director, and producer of your own life? You get to write the new story. You won't get a new story unless you create it. Remember I said we're stressed because we're managing our old story. It's time to create a new one. Make your move. Make your move. Make your move. Make the sound of your warrior as loud as you can. Go, your warrior sound. Do it again. Do it again. Make your magician sound. Make your lover sound. Make your sovereign sound. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now let's create your new story. Say, my new story is from a different state. My new story is about a person that wants what? A person that will never give up what? A person who pushes through what? A person who accomplishes what? A person who believes what? Life's for me. It's always happening for me, not to me. A person that finds a way. A person who will not give up. A person who makes it to the other side. A person filled with love or joy. What emotions does your new story full of? Is it love? Is it excitement? Is it determination? Is it passion? Is there love? Is there laughter? Is there more fun? What's your new story? If you got to write the story of your life going from this point forward, it's about somebody who wants what now and is going to accomplish what who's gonna feel what? What's your new role? Not victim, not pawn, not at the effect. Doer, maker, shaper, creator, lover, king, queen, sovereign, warrior. What's your new roles? Maybe you have multiple of them in this new story of your life. And ultimately, what does your new story become? Say it out loud now. Say, my new story is, life is about this. It's about a person. I'm going to do this. I create this. I live like this. I feel these feelings. I play these roles. I believe these beliefs. And here's what I'm going to accomplish. Here's what I'm going to feel. Here's what I'm going to experience. Here's what I'm going to give. Just out loud, say your new story. My new story is, shout it out. My new story is, just go on a rant. It doesn't need to make sense. Go on a rant. My new story is about life is love or it's joy. My new story is I don't settle. My new story is I break through. My new story is I achieve it all. The new story I have a love story, a comedy, an adventure. What will your new story be? Is it a comedy, an adventure, an epic? What is your new story? What was your old story? Now, if you love your new story, make some noise so I know you got something that moves you in the right direction. Great. Now, let's flip it. Real fast, we're going to flip it. I'm going to have you start out. My old story is with your old state. My old story is you can exaggerate about a person who was frustrated with this and couldn't achieve this and all this happened to them and they felt overwhelmed and all these things, they gave up. And then we're going to go, ma'am, my new story is, and tell your new story. Ready? Start with your old story in a lousy state, then snap into a good state and tell me your new story. Out loud, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. My old story was, go ahead. My old story was, person who dealt with this, couldn't get it done, was pissed off or was sad or frustrated, couldn't make the relationship, couldn't get the economic, couldn't make this, couldn't that, I felt this, I felt that, was this, life was this and life was that, felt the effect of it, I played these roles, everything else. Okay, snap out of it. Make a change in your body. Radical. What's your new story? Go. My new story is. Go. Shadow your new story. My new story is about this. I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to create this. Go for it. That's it. That's it. That's it. What are the new emotions? What are 2, 3 new emotions in your new story? Is it love? Is it passion? Is it gratitude? Is it determination? Is it confidence? Is it playfulness? What are some of the new emotions of your new story? What are the best ones that will change your life, ladies and gentlemen? Here we go. And now, take it to a peak, and you celebrate like a little kid, like it's the greatest story of your life, and you own it. 1, 2, 3, go. Make it up, go. Music. Story to change your life, say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Okay, have a seat to finish up here. Wow. How are you feeling right now? Put it in the chat box. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Put it in the chat box. That's it. My new story rocks. I'm inspired. I'm hyped. It's great. Unstoppable, pumped, excited, vibration, woo, liberating, feels amazing, energized, alive, insanely excited, beautiful, inspired, awesome. So, by the way, I didn't do this, you did. You just found the parts of you. See, you only get stuck when you get stuck in one part of you. So you can do this on your own as often as you want. You can do this, put yourself in state and do it. But the secret, you must change your biochemistry, which means you got to change your body. You got to use sound. If you don't use sound, there's a reason why you like to sing even though you sound like shit, right? How many of you sound terrible when you sing, but when no one's around, you love to sing? Go. Because sound goes to the deepest part of our brain, the reptilian part of our brain. So that's why I'm having you make these sounds. As I showed you at Stanford, there's a science to changing your biochemistry. And we're gonna do this each day. I mean, when you do a seminar, we do this 12 hours a day for 4 days. So we're doing just 3 hours, but you commit to this time. But then most importantly, guys, you gotta commit to take action. So this is gonna be your assignment. Right after we're done here, I'm gonna ask you to grab your phone. And I want you to get in front of your phone, especially if you don't wanna do it. My teacher, Jim Rohn, taught me something decades ago I never forgot. He said, Tony, if you want an extraordinary quality of life, you have to learn the philosophy of stretching. I said, what do you mean stretching? What does that mean? He goes, it means if you say to yourself, I can't do something, then you must. I said, well, if I can't jump off a cliff, then I must? He said, no, don't be stupid. He said, but if you say to yourself, I can't do something because it's uncomfortable, but you know if you did it, it would make you a better person, a greater father, a greater human being. It would make you grow. Then you have to do it. You have to train yourself. The minute you say, I can't, then I must, and take immediate action. I said, well, that wouldn't be a very secure life. He goes, if you want security, go to prison. He said, if you want freedom, you got to step up. Who's with me on this here, ladies and gentlemen? Say aye. So if it's uncomfortable, it's okay. It'll be uncomfortable for most people. And your vulnerability, you'll be surprised. This is a community of a couple million people around the world. And sharing what's going on with you, you're gonna find enormous support, but most importantly, it's about you breaking through. So I'm gonna ask you to do this. This is gonna be your assignment. I'll put it up on the screen here. You're gonna grab your phone and just real quick, you're gonna tell us real fast. My old story was a person who felt this, who thought this, who couldn't achieve this, whose life was all about this story, and then here's my new story. My new story is this is who I've now become. This is who I am. This is what I'm gonna create. These are the things I believe. This is what I feel, and they feel the celebration. That's simply it. Your old story, your new story, and then tell us how will your new story change your life forever. And just do it like in 30 seconds, a minute, minute and a half, doesn't matter, somewhere not 22 minutes, right? And you'll go on Facebook and you'll hit hashtag new story to put it up. And right now, just take a picture of the code. It'll take you there for the future. Just hit the QR code if you want on your camera there. So you have it, it'll make it even easier for you. But do it, and I'm gonna look at these, my team's gonna look at it. And at the end of each day, as long as you're here for the full day, and you come to the end of the day, we're going to announce a winner, a couple winners each night. One of those grand prizes is one night here is going to be a trip to Fiji. But tonight, I'm going to give away a couple people to my Unleash the Power Within event, which is one of my favorite events. Yeah, some of you are clapping because you've been to it. It's pretty amazing. So I'm going to show you real quick just a 2-second trailer. Take a look. If you and I want an extraordinary life, we got to turn fear into power. We got to break through our fear and take action even if we're scared. Meaning equals emotion, and emotion equals life. The minute you focus on something, your brain has to decide, what does this mean? Whatever meaning you give it, you're going to feel. Is this the end or the beginning? Is this problem happening because God is punishing me? Or is this problem a gift from God? And that's the most important decision we make in our life. When people change the meaning. All the beauty of the life you've already lived and the life you're about to live. And bring that into your hearts. In you, as you. This is the real you. This is you. Unleashed. So I'm going to have Renee come out here and tell you who the 3 winners are. It's been an amazing day. Renee, let's share with everybody. Give her a hand for Renee.
Wow. Give it up for Tony Robbins, everybody. Wow. If that didn't fire you up, I don't know what would. I was sitting backstage myself in tears, and I have to tell you, just a little behind the scenes, and Tony doesn't know I'm going to say this, but being able to do what I do and watch Tony from backstage and just see his true passion, you guys, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. So he does this not for himself. He does this because he cares so much. All right, let's give it up. Right now, give it up for yourselves. What an amazing day 1. have shown so much love today. Keep this energy going. Okay, a few quick announcements before we wrap up. First, let's talk about today's assignment and challenge. So I want to ask you 3 questions. So if our team can pull that up, please.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes, please.
I forgot one thing I want to mention. I don't know if you guys can see me. Tomorrow, if you're a Gold Card member, I want to do something special because you're on Zoom. So after tomorrow, if you give yourself just a little extra time tomorrow, I'm going to do a Q&A session for about 30 minutes because I can see you guys and answer your direct questions. So all the people that are Gold Card members here, VIPs, give yourself an extra 30 minutes tomorrow if you'd like, and that way we can have a personal, direct interaction. I know we didn't schedule that, but I'd love to do it for you. If you're open to it, I'll do that tomorrow. Just keep it on your schedule, okay?
I told you, he over-delivers. Whew. If all of us could have the heart that Tony Robbins has, then it would be even more of a beautiful world. So, to get back to our assignment, Tone, you almost made us miss that, all right? So this is important. Number 1, what's your old story? Number 2, what's your new story? And number 3, how will this story change your life? Now listen, the QR code, this is for you to use. It will take you right to the page so you can fill out these questions. And here's the challenge. I want you to get in state before you answer these questions, and then you're going to go live in the Facebook group. I know some of you are like, oh, this makes me so nervous. Good. That is you stepping outside your comfort zone. And you are going to share these questions with us, and you're going to use hashtag new story. And listen, be vulnerable. Go beyond your comfort zone. That is why we're here. And if you have the Gold Card experience, this is so cool. You can go to Tony's AI, and it's already preloaded for you. How great is that? What we're going to do, we're going to be, let me tell you that Tony Robbins AI, I use it every day. Tony doesn't know it, but I talk to him every single day, even when I'm not here with him. All right, we are going to be selecting winners to give prizes away inside the group, so show up fully. If you're scared, remember, it's just excitement with a different label. So we were so blown away, oh man, by someone in this community, that the first person who showed up right out of the gate. And this person was spreading love, excitement, and energy across the whole Facebook group. So today, our first winner of Unleash the Power Within is Ro Bennett from New Zealand. Hi, Ro. Ro has been super supportive inside the community. She was looking to scale her personal small business, and now she's ready to live life on her own terms, live a life of abundance, and build a company where she can have time, freedom, live in a great location, and impact more people. So give it up. All right, we're gonna move through these a little bit quick because we want to make sure you get out of here on time and come back tomorrow early. Our second winner, who's going to unleash the power within, James Gavrilis. Congratulations, James. All right, and our third winner for today, drum roll please, Ms. Jasmine Fate. Yay, Jasmine! Congratulations again, everyone. Remember, make sure you are here all day, every day until the end, because as Tony mentioned, he's going to be giving away a grand prize, a trip to his beautiful resort in Fiji called Namali, which, by the way, I attended, and beautiful doesn't even describe it. It is absolutely incredible. So that's it. You guys, we're done. But when we come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to share this trick with you. Early is on time is late. Get here a few minutes early so you're ready. We are sending you so much love, and tomorrow is so beautiful. It's about the power of identity, love, and relationships. And we have not only the incredible Tony Robbins, but Sage Robbins. Wait till you meet her if you haven't met her yet. True angel. And for our Gold Card members, I just received a special announcement that tomorrow, I'm seeing it right now, my team is sharing this with me, they're doing a surprise Q&A with you after the main session. So if you want to stick around, which you should, I'm just saying, make sure you leave a little extra time. And if you still want to join the Gold Card experience, you can do that right now. Just go to tonysvip.com. Now let's raise that energy, get in peak state, light up this place with love, everybody. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you.